The military reported air raid sirens in and around Tel Aviv suburbs and central Israel.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called on all nations to back plan for a real and just peace during his address to the United Nations General Assembly.
We must remove Russian occupiers, which will bring an end to hostilities in Ukraine.
China's military conducted a test firing of an intercontinental ballistic missile, its first public test of such a weapon in decades, according to defense officials.
The ICBM, equipped with a dummy warhead, was launched at 8:44 a.m. local time.
One person was killed after a Los Angeles Metropolitan Transportation Authority bus was hijacked, with the driver forced at gunpoint to evade police before the suspect was eventually apprehended, authorities reported.
This is breaking news.
Hurricane Helene intensified into a dangerous Category 4 storm in the Gulf of Mexico before hitting Florida's Big Bend area late Thursday night. The National Hurricane Center in Miami warned of catastrophic and deadly storm surges, which could reach up to 20 feet in certain regions, along with powerful destructive winds. Over 1.1 million customers in Florida are without power, according to utility tracker PowerOutage.us, with another 70,000 outages reported in Georgia. Multiple weather-related fatalities have been linked to Helene. 2 people were killed in Wheeler County, Georgia, according to County Coroner Ted Mercer, who told CBS News by phone. No further details were released. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced during a late-night news briefing that one person died in the Tampa area when a traffic sign struck a vehicle. DeSantis stated that around 3,500 National Guardsmen were ready to assist with emergencies.
I'm Lawrence Keller. Coastal areas that are typically dry are expected to flood due to a combination of tides and the deadly storm surge, which could reach up to 20 feet from Carabel to the Suwannee River. Heavy rainfall is forecast to impact the Tennessee Valley on Friday and Saturday, accompanied by strong, damaging winds, particularly in gusts, extending well inland across the southeastern U.S., including the higher elevations of the southern Appalachian Mountains. Rainfall totals in the Appalachian region are predicted to range from 6 to 12 inches, with isolated amounts up to 20 inches. The NHC warned that the risk of several tornadoes will steadily increase through Thursday night, with the greatest threat anticipated in parts of northern Florida, southeast Georgia, the Midlands and Low Country of South Carolina, and southern North Carolina.
This is Breaking News. I'm Alan Edwards.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host or guest and should not be interpreted as statement of fact. Independent fact-checking and corrections are encouraged.
Interpret it as a
statement of fact. We got a cup of coffee in here, please.
Yeah.
Damn good coffee and hot.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy.
No.
It's time for Coffee with the Dog. You
Fine.
make me laugh.
That's a fact. Making you laugh, that's not a fact. That's an opinion, and it's a wrong opinion. What the hell's going on there? Oh, we got computers wanting to, mate. What the hell was that? Jesus. 40 computers. Never saw that one before. A computer tried to hump another computer's leg. A new day. Good morning, folks. It is Friday, your favorite day of the week. Time for me to go to work. So not, you know what? I got it all backwards. I got it all ass backwards. But it is Friday, September 27th, 2024. Still no sunshine here. But listen, I can't complain. I don't have a Category 5 here, and I hope I don't get. I hope it dies. I hope the storm dies before it makes its way up the coast, and it looks like it's going inland. That breaking news stuff is broken. Appalachia, not Appalachia, or whatever he said. I only know that because I've interviewed authors from Appalachia, and they don't like you saying Appalachia. That just shows that you don't know what you're talking about. AI weather guy. This is not going to be a good show. It's going to be a terrible. If I were you, I'd tune out now and just go find something productive to do with your Friday. That's what I would do if I were you. But you're not going to do that. You're going to hang around here for what is certain to be a train wreck, a 13 truck collision on the interstate. We're going to start with teaching Stevie 3 little words. And those 3 little words are, I fucked up. Now, that might come out of his mouth as, you're a hater! Because in my experience, when I try to teach people to say, I fucked up, it always comes out as, you're a hater! So we'll see how that goes. We have 2 authors we're going to meet today. One is, see, this is why it's going to be a train wreck. The second hour, we're going to meet a young lady who's a poet and uses poetry as like a healing methodology, a healing vehicle through poetry. You should probably already guess how I feel about that and why I'm having her on. I mean, I am interested, but she's not bad looking. And we need more good-looking women on this program because we have 4 ugly dudes every day, and it is really disturbing to look at 4 ugly dudes every morning. You might as well just like stick your fingers down your throat and force yourself to vomit, and then look at the vomit. So we'll talk to her in the second hour. In the first hour, we have a raging alcoholic, drug addict, bottom hitter, and quitter. Guy who's been clean and sober for 11 years, but has had experience with the raging alcoholism and the drug addict and the hitting rock bottom, as they call it. But then he quit. And I was trying to explain this last night. There's kind of a conflict of interest here. I am in the enabling and actually selling of liquor. Number one, I am a liquor salesman. They just allow me to bring my guitar to work every day. But my job is to encourage people to get drunk, get stoned, and spend their money and then hit rock bottom right in front of me. This is my job. So we have a little bit of a conflict of interest. Cody Peterson was going to be talking about the 12-step program, and I can't even take one step. I trip on one step. This is why the cat is probably hiding under the bed right now, because I trip a lot. I'm a trippy guy. Anyway, so it might be a little confrontational here today. I'm first going to bust Stevie's balls. If we can get him to get off his balls. And then we're probably going to have him pull a willy on me. Hater. And then we'll meet authors. And if Stevie starts getting bored and starts visibly showing that he's bored with them, I'm just gonna go back to him and say, you need to learn 3 little words. 3 little words. I fucked up. Because he did fuck up. And you know what I'm talking about. Well, I'll let you know what I'm talking about when they are in the room. They are not in the room right now. It's rude of me to speak of them not in the room, although I know they've got their ear against the door with a cup and they're listening. What's he saying about me? Say, oh, I fucked up? How did I fuck up? I didn't fuck up. You did fuck up. You don't think you fucked up. See, there's nothing wrong with fucking up. And I think I lead by example. I say I fucked up all the time. But there are times in life where there are important lessons to be learned. And sometimes you need somebody else to help point out what that lesson is. Like, lesson could be right there in front of you. You learn the lesson. The lesson is presented to you, but you don't even see what the lesson is. And that's where I come in and I say, the lesson actually is, I fucked up. You fucked up. We all make mistakes, but we have to own it and not try to say, well, it's whatever. Last minute. It's showbiz, not showbiz. It's fucking up. It happens. It happens, and you can't. I'm not saying we should beat ourselves up over it, but you can't learn the lesson until you acknowledge what the lesson is. And the lesson is, I fucked up. I'm going to fuck up right now. I'm going to push the wrong buttons and try to play something more constructive. I'm not going to play Daily High Club in honor of Cody Peterson, who was already in the green room. I'm not going to play a sponsor from Daily High Club because that would be a little rude. But you know what? The other sponsors I have aren't much less about enabling than Daily High Club. So we'll go with one that is more about psychedelics and healing your mental anxiety and stress, which is a little less than just like get stoned a messaging. So we'll play that now. We'll come back. We'll meet the gentleman from the dog pound. I will tell Stevie why he fucked up. He will argue with me. He'll end up crying, pulling a willy and going, later.
Mind Bloom is helping people achieve life-changing clinical and personal breakthroughs, alchemizing both the psychedelic medication, psychiatric care from psychiatric clinicians, coaches we call psychedelic guides, and a lot of content and meditations and programs into this really transformational experience that, because it's delivered at home, costs a lot less and is a lot more convenient for people to receive.
Guys, we're back.
Yeah, we are, but I lost my wire. I fucked up. I don't know if you know about this. Ladies and gentlemen, in the room with me right now are the lovely and talented lingerie expert, Miss Ron Kane. I do miss Ron Kane. And the aforementioned Stevie, I fucked up Ortiz. And my best friend of the last 137 years, Mr. CG Hong Young. Good morning, CG.
Good morning, America. MindDogTV.com. Are you in the path of Hurricane Helene and are afraid to leave because you might miss coffee with the dog?
Isn't it Helene? You has Elaine. Did you say Elaine? Elaine. All right. I'm sorry.
I'm afraid to leave because you might miss coffee with the dog? Well, we want you to be safe. So go to MindDogTV.com and get your Hurricane Preparedness Kit.
Wow.
Yes.
No, the balloon is magic when you pulled it in front of the green screen. Wait a minute. Put it down and pick it up again. It was just so magical.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh.
Yes, so preparedness kit. Protect yourself from falling debris.
Wow.
Use it as a flotation device.
No.
And if you get attacked by a gator who's swimming through your living room like this, stuff it in his mouth. That's right. And get one now, get the second one, and you can use semaphore from your roof to call for help. Yes.
Wow.
Mind Dog TV Hurricane Preparedness Kit. Get one today.
You people on the radio, you just missed like a magical experience. It was almost like taking Mind Bloom with balloons. Mind Balloon. If you're using a green screen, you can't use a yellow balloon. That's, you got to use a blue screen for a yellow balloon. I don't know.
I'm not using a green screen at all. My green screen's in the basement. Well, no, it's not. I'm sorry. My green screen holder is in the basement. My green screen's right there. I can't hang it.
Oh, so what? So why is the yellow balloon all, I don't know, weirdly like that? Transparent. You was quite see-through in that.
Yeah, that's because the camera had to adjust. It's using AI to adjust. And it's
So,
like, whoa, a balloon. Whoa.
I'm wrong. I don't know everything, and I will gladly admit that I fucked up. Now,
no, the thing is, okay, you say you fucked up quite a bit, but do you mean it? See, people can say things.
I totally mean it. I am the world's biggest fuck up, no doubt about it. I fuck up, but you have to recognize your fuck ups. The real question is, do I do things to address my fuck upisms? And not always. Not always, to be fair. I don't always make the proper adjustments in the world of not fucking up again. So yeah, definitely. We're all human on that, but I think it is important to recognize the fuck up. And this is where I'm going to pick on Stevie a little bit here, as I promised I would. For the audience who might be wondering, why is he messing? Why is he pulling a Mike Chavola on poor little Stevie? Here's the deal. You know that Stevie has been promoting this trip to Denver for about a month now on this program. And yesterday he sent us a text, the trip is off. And I made the mistake of saying, why? And then I heard about credit cards, rental cars. I heard about showbiz. When the truth is, it's just a lack of planning. And in retail, they used to say, your lack of planning does not constitute an emergency for me. So that is really, I want to, Stevie, is this registering with you at all? Could you have, if you had a month of planning, you think you would be suited with a way to get to your gig in Denver?
Under normal circumstances, yes, 100%.
What are the normal circumstances?
He doesn't.
Under normal circumstances, I'm not invited and told, "Hey, everything's taken care of. We'll be there to pick you up on the 26th."
Oh, so you're pushing the fucked up off on the other guy who was generous to give you a gig. You are throwing your friend under the bus.
No,
saying, get under this bus. Let me back the bus.
No, not at all. No, it was the person who invited sent me the invite, and I was like, okay, yeah, if I can get things figured out. So that's when Zank called me and was like, hey, we got a plan. We're going to get a rental car. We're going to set some gigs up on the way. We're going to go. So I was like, cool. What do you need me to do? Worry about it, Bubba. Everything's taken care of. And then unfortunately, in the last week or so, he ran into some issues, and I wasn't told about it till about 2 days ago. 2 days ago. And then that was the culmination of a total of 3 group texts I was in of us trying to figure out who can get the car, who has a card they can use. So it was a bunch of shitty planning. On my part, I probably should have most definitely had a plan B in place just in case. But that's on me. So
no, well, listen, I don't know all the answers. I don't know everything. I don't want to come off as a know-it-all. But after 60 years of experience in this stuff, I can tell you that the thing to do is the second the gig opportunity comes in, you want to make sure all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. There is a plan in place. And if they say, well, we're just going to wait till the week before to plan it out, you say, I'm not being a part of something that is going to be
right.
So,
and unfortunately, I wasn't aware that nothing was in place until just a few days ago.
No,
in which case I spent
you just said when it came in, you said, "What do you need me to do?" Oh no, it's all taken care of. Like what? How we getting there?
Right. I said it was all taken care of. Yeah. So.
Yeah. At that moment, I would.
Yeah. So I should have gotten more details. So I did fuck up 100%. I should have had a plan B. I should have asked for more details.
We've made progress there, ladies and gentlemen. And no, not yet anyway. No, you're a hater. We couldn't get you're a hater out of it.
Listen, I am 7 years into comedy. I am 1 year into full-time comedy. I know jack shit. Okay, I'm learning. So the last thing I'm going to do is tell you that I know something I don't. So I fucked up. That's on me. It's a lesson learned.
No, I'm not saying you were going to pull that I know something you don't. That's just because the bottom line is here. There is nothing. It's not. There is no crime in fucking up. We all fuck up, but you can't learn the lesson. And the lesson here is the next time a big opportunity. Because I think this was something you were excited about doing. It felt like a big opportunity for you. Yes.
It felt like it felt like a productive, different opportunity for sure.
Yeah. So the lesson here is when the phone rings, before you even pick it up, say I'm gonna make sure this dude is not just not just dicking me around here and has their ducks in a row.
Yeah.
And
No, that was like I said, that was on me.
And
So,
yeah,
lesson learned,
and the bottom line is you've tried to blame it on showbiz. And all those issues would be the same if you were a manure salesman or you were a lingerie.
well, right. No, I just meant, in general, shit happens.
I know. Yeah, but
Yeah,
so,
I just have a question. It's something you just said, Matt. You said
what, you want to buy manure?
No, you said there's no crime in fucking up. So would you say that what Diddy did, he didn't? Was that?
No, that wasn't fuck up. That was malicious bad behavior. That wasn't a fuck up. That was a plan. Or that was a pattern of. If Carl was here, he'd tell you there's no such thing as evil. That was a pattern of evil. Now, I'm not suggesting, as Cody Peterson might tell us, that evil does exist as a force in nature, which is Carl's big problem with good and evil. He's saying, well, if you talk about good and evil, it's got to be like spiritual. It's got to be God and devil. No, it could be. It could just come from the mind of and heart of man, but and not Carl man. But there are definitely acts of evil. I feel like, you know what? No matter what you say about such good and I'm going to stick with that until the day I die. I do think
okay. So evil isn't necessarily. So people who commit evil aren't necessarily fucking up. They could be executing a very well planned plan, but it's just bad.
Absolutely.
But I think there's a lot of underlying things, though, right? Like perception, right? Like if you're raised a certain way, to be taught certain things aren't evil, right? Then you go out into the world, you do those things because you didn't know they were evil. You're fucking up without ill intent, even though it's an evil thing to do. You may not know. For example, let's say you're a kid born in Nazi Germany. You're raised from the get-go. Jews are bad. Killing them is okay. Beating them up is okay. That's all great. And then he goes out in the world and then does it. It doesn't realize he's being, evil, atrocious bastard because he was taught it was okay, right? I think it just comes down to perception and how you are
so his fuck up would be if he rescued a Jew. That would be his fuck up. If he learned all that and went out and saved the Jew, that would be him fucking up.
Sure, I guess in that instance, because then the general public will be like, why would you save a Jew? Really? That's fucked up. Why would you do that? You should have let him drown, right? Because in that situation, the fuck up would be being nice to Jews. Yeah.
Well, now we do start to get into the spiritual nature of it, or the ability to recognize evil. Because sure you can, and this is thank you for actually giving me this thing to think about now for the entire weekend.
I can smell you. I can smell it burning now.
Yeah, no. But
it's like when you turn the heater on for the first time of the year when it gets cold.
I think to that point, there were people who were brought up in Nazi Germany or in the heart of slavery in the United States who were taught that it was just the way things were and there was nothing evil about it. But within their hearts, they recognized the evil, seeing the evil that was done.
We had slavery. We had slavery in the United States. How come nobody told me?
When was the last time you got paid for this?
But no,
we still have slavery.
I thought it was called internship. I thought they changed slavery to internship.
37 years.
You barely get paid either. It's okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I cut Ron off. He was about to say something. We were both talking at the same time.
Wait, Ron was going to say something?
Yeah. And I apologize.
Everybody's too late now. I don't even know what we're talking about. Nazis and soup.
Nazis and lingerie.
Nazis and soup.
Nazis and lingerie.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Next case.
No, I was just going to say that even though GD's sound is terrible again, well, all I was going to say to Steven is that I think a lot of comics just don't understand how fucking hard it is actually to plan something, and they don't think how much work that it actually takes.
Yeah,
And that's
Yeah,
no
and
doubt.
that's where I didn't necessarily dog anybody. I was just like, again, now, hindsight, I should have had a plan B, but I probably should have started asking more questions when I wasn't hearing anything for a little while.
Yeah, and you know what? You should not be afraid to be a dick like I am, and go back to this guy and say, you fucked up. No, I'm not mad at you for fucking up, but you need to learn this lesson.
No, I did say, like, man, if this stuff was going on like 5-6 days ago, I really wish you would have told me ahead of time. I did say that because the things that happened were things that we all should have been told about, so we could have helped out. Because
Right.
it was
I put a little bit of, not a guilt trip on it, but make him understand that you have spent a month telling the audience and your friends and people, this is part of, it's a reputation damage to you. It's not like a big thing, like your career is not irreparably damaged, but this has cost you, because you can't now people, the next time you're promoting a big gig like this, people are going to say, well, is this like that Denver thing? I'm not going to plan on going there. He's going to fuck up.
That is
again.
the first thing that crossed my mind once I found out I couldn't go, because I pride myself in not only showing up to my gigs, but being there like a little early.
I'm mad at this guy. No, I'm not mad at you, but I'm mad at this guy. I want to go. I'm going to drive to Indiana to fight this guy today. GD
Zink lives in Michigan. Nice.
GD's feelings were so hurt because Ron talked about it, and I'm not hearing any problem with GD's audio. Why you do that to me? GD's audio is fine from my perspective, but for somehow it's hurting.
What's happening on your end, Ron? What's it sounding like?
Say testing 1 2 3. Wow, it's quiet. His mic must be muted, or his lips must be sewn together. GD.
Oh, I didn't know you. I think you're still talking to Ron.
No,
see, that sounds better now. That sounds better.
Okay, yeah, that's how he sounded before he left on my end. Just FYI.
Yeah.
I was not on your end. Don't even start those rumors.
I don't know. You look. What's all right? Never mind.
I did. I did. My signal did drop out. I had to reboot my hotspot.
Because your Wi-Fi thing. Yeah, we are way late on introducing. I can't believe it's 27 minutes into this because
that's why I was saying let's bring in Cody, and I said that just before I lost.
I didn't hear you say that.
I said that just before I lost everything.
All right. Let's get to Cody Peterson. Cody Peterson is a recovering alcoholic, drug addict with over 11 years clean and sober. He has been fascinated by spirituality and religion since adolescence, although he struggled to maintain a spiritual connection, spending many years trying to get clean and sober. He has written a book that we're going to be talking about, and he's here now to help straighten all this stuff out about good and evil and the nature of it. Good morning, Cody. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Glad I'm here. Yeah, it's been an interesting conversation so far. It's right up my alley.
It is. Well, that's a bad alley then. I would say that. The Shadow of a Figure of Light is your book, and we'll talk about that. But from this, I'm curious from your perspective, and after all you've been through. Do you think good and evil exists? And if the answer to that is yes, are they inherent forces in the universe, or do they live within the heart and minds of man?
Yeah, I mean, I would, of course, I think good and evil exists. I mean, it seems pretty apparent. Whether they exist, I mean, Jung said that Carl Jung, the great psychologist, said that that really evil has its root within each of us, and that the best thing we can do for the world is to try to make our own shadow conscious. And so that's why I wrote this book. Actually, was to try to help people, realize, when they fuck up. Or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what. Welcome to the program. This is what I should have named this. You fucked up. The name of the episode today. You fucked up. It's easy to see when somebody else fucks up, though. It's not so easy to or admit sometimes when you fucked up. But also, I think there's nothing to be ashamed of in the act of fucking up. I think it's a human thing. I mean, we all fall short of perfection in a lot of ways, and to kind of realize, I think the problem with admitting that we fucked up is we want to imagine that there is such a thing as perfection, or not, or not being able to forgive ourselves for being human sometimes. So that's basically what I was trying to get across, even though it doesn't come off more curmudgeonly, like you did something wrong. I'm not that. It's not judgment. It's just if you want to learn the lessons, you have to acknowledge that the lesson is right in front of you. So now tell me about your situation. Did you, as most people in 12-step programs will say, they hit rock bottom? Did you hit rock bottom before you came to start to get clean and sober?
Yeah, I did. I ended up hitting rock bottom, I guess multiple times, but the last time was enough to kind of really get my attention. Yeah, I had ended up, homeless in Vegas, sitting in front of the Hard Rock Casino. I was coming down off 2 or 3 days of not sleeping, not eating. And I kept falling asleep inside of the casino, and they had to usher me out multiple times. And I don't know, something happened right there sitting on the curb. I just, it's like I just saw myself really clearly for what I'd become, a 34-year-old deadbeat dad, hadn't worked in years, basically homeless, just a real drag on society. So
now I'm curious, when you're sitting on the curb, were you sitting across from a plate glass window, or you're sitting near a puddle of water? I was just wondering how you managed to see yourself. Was this just an internal?
It was an internal. It was like the cosmos held up a mirror, and I could see my insides, right? So yeah.
Right. Now, how did you, if you weren't working and you were just kind of living on the street, how did you support your habits, whether it was drinking or drugging and stuff? I'm just, again, no judgment here. I'm just curious how you do that, in case I want to start today.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you steal things like microwaves and lawnmowers, and you just fucking become a little menace. You know what I mean? You just, it takes $5 to $7 or whatever. And you just, it's just horrible. Kind of burn through everybody in your life. And, yeah.
So now that this is where you jumped right into it. I was going to ask you, were you able, because believe me, man, my whole life has been surrounded by substance abuse. People get addicted, people who really burn every bridge in their life. And the question I have for you, were you able to mend some of the relationships that you undoubtedly had to have burned in that time that you were doing what you were doing?
Yeah. I mean, luckily in my case, I have. That's not always the case, with people who come into 12 steps. But I'm not here to like push the 12 steps on anyone or whatever. They just happen to work really well for me. But I was able to mend most of the relationships. There's a few women from my past who didn't want to hear from me.
That would happen anyway. That would happen.
I've been dealing with that recently on my own, man. Not from.
Yeah, I've never had a substance abuse problem, but I can guarantee you there's 12 women, one for each step, who never want to hear from me again.
That's right. Yeah, my wife doesn't want to hear from me again, honestly. So.
Yeah, well, that's just most of us have that story somewhere.
Yeah, see. You could have learned, Cody, you could have learned all of that without the alcohol and drugs.
You know who doesn't have that? Ron Kane doesn't have that. He's been married to his junior high school sweetheart. They got married in junior high, and they've been married for 137 years.
That's right.
And never had a problem. Good for him, yeah, because he's not but no, you are.
People generally like me, Matt. That's the difference.
I don't think so. You don't talk to the same people I talk to. I talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people who say, "Why do you even have that guy on the show?" That lingerie salesman with his weird AI fetish. Now, AI is a substance abuse problem. You are addicted to AI. You should belong in AI Anonymous or something.
Actually, the only issue that Ron and his wife has is when she's driving and she parks so close that he can't get out of his side of the car.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, my
So,
wife driving, sure.
Let's bring this back to Cody, if we may, because we have a guest in the room, gentlemen.
Okay, the only problem Ron has with his wife is when Cody parks the car too close to the wall, and he can't get.
Yeah. So you are blessed that I think you're blessed that you've had some people who were open to accepting you back in after. Now, were you discommunicated by a lot of these people? Because I know there was a time in my life when my brother would call me at 2 a.m. drunk. Of course, the 2 a.m. phone calls are always drunk, and where I just didn't want to hear from him anymore. Did you get a lot of that?
I did. I got a lot of that. So, I wasn't able to see my kids much for a few years there at the end. Pretty much my parents, had enough and told me to stop coming around. And my girlfriend had kicked me out and her mom didn't want me around. So, yeah, there was a long road of rebuilding those relationships for sure. I mean, to be honest, if I'm being honest, it was the only people who really were happy to see me was the people in the 12 steps. They were like, "Oh, hey, you're back. Come on, let's go. Let's get you some food and get you some new clothes or whatever." So
yeah, let's not get too ahead of that, because this is where I want. The universe held up this mirror to you, and you saw what you had become. Did you say to yourself, "I'm got to go to a 12-step meeting now"? I mean, what was the first step? And first step, not the first step of the 12 steps, the first step to get you going towards the 12 steps.
Well, I had started moving towards the 12 steps about 10 years previously. So I had a long road of going, what they say, in and out. The last time, though, what happened to me, and this is the reason I wrote the book, is because Carl Jung describes a lot of this process. It tends to be kind of it's like an archetypal process, right? That people who have these types of transformations tend to experience the same thing. And so for me, what it was, sitting there on the curb outside of the Hard Rock Casino in Las Vegas in March, it was cold, it was dark. I see myself in this sort of cosmic mirror or whatever. And I realized that I don't actually have the answers, and so what happens at that moment is that there's this thing that Jung calls an ego deflation. And it's where the ego really it comes up against the stark reality that it actually doesn't have all the answers, that it doesn't have control, right? And from there it can sort of start rebuilding and kind of reorient itself to the world, to whatever, to the higher self or the higher power. And that's what happened with me. So, wow. And I find myself to be, among the luckiest people alive because I had that experience. Because Jung said that compulsion is the great mystery of human life. And I think the reason he said that is because so many people can't see their compulsions, right? Like if you ask just any random person on the street who's driving a BMW and has a great job, etc., they're not going to feel like anything drives them. They don't understand that their ego actually doesn't have control. And so in this sense, I think alcoholism or drug addiction or whatever, they end up being this sort of strange kind of vision quest that people get to go on, where they really get to discover some profound truths about themselves that perhaps might not be available to other people. Like you guys, I'm so sorry, you guys are missing out. You need to go get strung the fuck out, right? Just push it. It sounds crazy, right? But I'm a huge proponent of it's kind of wild, but I just feel like drug addicts and alcoholics are they're really lucky if they can turn it around, right? I mean, it's sad, it's dangerous.
That's a big if.
A lot of them can't.
Big. I have lost quite a few people who were not able to turn it around, and but I don't. To your point, and I know there's some humor here, but I don't think you have to necessarily go down that road to hit rock bottom. You could hit rock bottom without any substance. You can definitely experience the pain and the suffering of life and take life's lessons from it without ever having induced any kind of substance. Of course, I mean there are other ways that humans fuck up, but
I haven't lost. Oh, I'm sorry. I have not lost anyone to alcohol or drugs. I know exactly where they are. Most of them are dead, so they're not lost. I know where they are. I can find them if I want to.
Yeah, I have one in a closet in a box in an urn.
Yeah.
My parents are still alive, but who knows how long that'll last? So we'll see.
Right. Yeah, it's a really now you talked about ego, and this is because last week I had Kelly Collin on, or it might be 2 weeks ago now. I'm losing track, but she is a Jungian. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't know how to pronounce anybody's name, but she's a student of psychology and studied Jungian psychology, and she was talking about ego. But we've had a psychiatrist on recently who's talking about. We were talking about the use of psychedelics in therapy and all that stuff. And he said, whatever all those drugs do, they break down your ego, and that's not a good thing. And I'm thinking, that is a good thing. I think this world is too full of ego. We have a surplus of ego on planet Earth right now. I think breaking down a little bit of that, or doing away with some of it, might be.
I think y'all are using the term ego differently.
My ego's not huge. I'm just perfect. It's different.
Oh,
yeah.
It sounds like a mustache agenda.
Wow, you're picking on my physical appearance. That's just so.
Yeah. How dare you, Rod? How dare you pick on his physical appearance like that? It's disrespectful.
Terrible.
I used to have a T-shirt that said, "I'm not conceited. I'm just better than you." And a woman saw that shirt. I was wearing it in Maine, and this woman saw the shirt, and she goes, that shirt really slaps me in the face." That's what she said to me. She goes, "It might be better if you put, 'I'm not conceited. I'm just better than you think.' It said just better than you. Just put the word 'think' at the end."
Don't rewrite my jokes, lady. You just ask for your money back and walk out.
Her ego was bigger. I get it.
Yeah.
Good lesson, GD. Back to you, Cody.
Yeah, back to you, Cody. So now with all this, you found your way into the 12 steps and to the time where it took. How long did it take before you decided, I have a message to share with the world and I need to write a book?
I started writing the book about 4 years ago, so it took about 6 or 7 years. I've always wanted to write a book, but I don't know. Once I started reading Jung for myself, it sort of inspired me to start writing. And I love Carl Jung because he talks about a spiritual path, but it's not really one that encourages you to sort of chase after like this sort of holiness or these figures of light or whatever. It really pivots and it focuses on the darkness and to really look at oneself and like try to just be real honest about who we are as people, my relationships, the way I am, who I bring to the relationship, like with my wife and my kids. I find it a really profound, it's been great, writing the book has been absolutely mind-blowing for me.
Has it been therapy for you to write the book?
It's completely changed the way that I see the world. It's really amazing. When I started writing, I didn't really know what I was going to write about. I just really felt compelled to start writing. And what emerged is just this really, it's kind of wild, dude. I wrote this book like I don't have a degree or anything. I didn't study Jungian analysis in school or anything like that. But the Jungian community, like the head honchos, like Murray Stein wrote me a blurb. He's sort of like the grand poobah of the Jungian community. He wrote a blurb for the book. I've got other authors from the Jungian community have written blurbs for me, and it's really cool. I tell this story in the book about how Jung's own vision quest in Taos, New Mexico, who actually a shaman led him there, who was himself loved to dabble in psychedelic mushrooms back in the 1920s, led Jung to Taos. And that's where Jung had his own sort of spiritual awakening, if you will. And then it was that specifically that experience that led into the formulation of the 12 steps. So I got to tie this history together, and it ends up being a really important component of Jungian thought in general. So the Jungians are just going bananas for it, which I think is great.
My question is, because Jung basically used archetypes as a teaching mechanism to identify archetypes. The alcoholic archetype, is that something that you learned from Jung, or did you identify it and realize that it existed?
Yeah, so I asked my Jungian mentor, Stephen Herman, if indeed anyone had explored the idea of the archetype of the alcoholic, and he hadn't heard it before. So in a sense, I guess I coined the idea, or I coined but the thing about the archetypes and the reason I find the archetype of the alcoholic so useful is because, going back to the good and evil question, the archetypes always represent sort of a dichotomy, right? There's a higher self and a lower self. There's like a good part and a bad part, or whatever. And the archetype of the alcoholic really is that, because on one hand you have like the alcoholic trope, right? Which is me, homeless, right? Like unable to hold a job, stealing from my family, stealing from the world, right? But then in like what we see like in 12 steps, right, is that thing now it morphs and becomes the higher self, right? So then like if you go to like an AA meeting, you'll hear people say, my name is Bill and I'm an alcoholic. And for Bill, that means a lot. That actually that encompasses that entire story and that giant transformation. So that's why the archetype of the alcoholic is so useful, because if you understand recovery, then you can see how it really encompasses both the highest and the lowest.
So, but if you're an alcoholic and you're, let's say, a functional alcoholic, where you're holding down a job and you're not stealing, you're basically just a different. How does that fit into the alcoholic archetype? Because the trope you refer to sounds very, very self-destructive. Yeah, now, I'm not saying that the functional alcoholic is not destructive or self-destructive, but they're not stealing, they're not robbing, they may not even be abusing anyone. They just cannot stop drinking, go to work, earn their paycheck, and come home and piss their pants, and then repeat and rinse throughout the week.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that's a great question. I mean, in my perspective, because I have family members who are also like that, and we see that a lot of times, like in 12-step spaces, right? And in a way, that's the most heartbreaking kind of alcoholic, because they don't ever drive it until the wheels come off, and they think they have control. But what happens is their life slips by, and they never. And so there's like a benefit in like going all the way into the archetype, right? Like, and just in complete, almost like complete identification with it, even though it's dangerous. But those people who take that path, they're really called to something a lot higher if they can survive.
I just have to make an observation here, and I apologize for this is the wheels coming off this program a little early here. Have you heard, do you know, are you aware of a comedian named Brendan Walsh?
I am not, but
you have his voice, and he is a prankster, and he is known to dress up and play characters, and you do bear a resemblance to him. And he is due on this program probably next week, and some people are aware of that. I just want to make it clear that you are not Brendan Walsh in character right now, because as I'm listening, I was like, man, that's Brendan's voice. I'm hearing your voice. I'm like, I know some people out there who know that Brendan is due on this program coming up soon.
He sounded familiar to me too, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But now that you say the name, it's very, very close.
And this is something Brendan would do. He would come on as an expert in alcoholism and drug addiction, and just fool people like this. So I just want to make people fully aware that that's not who this is. That's not what this is. This is not a prank.
Full disclosure.
You mentioned the functioning alcoholic and how sad it is. My uncle, who just passed away maybe 2 months ago, his entire life he was an alcoholic. I mean, he got me to start drinking at 16. He was the uncle that would drink a case of beer a day to himself. So like if I was drinking with him, we would have to go buy 2 cases. Like that's how much he drank. And up until his body gave out and then his heart gave out and he died. But he was a functioning alcoholic. He carried a full-time job. He made 6 figures a year, had a big house, big family, and then gone.
Yeah, let me just kind of share some thoughts on this. First of all, the idea of functioning alcoholic implies external judgment. Now, it looks like what's functioning to us, but we never see behind closed doors. We don't have a microscope into somebody's life, because my father would have fallen into that category by a lot of people's imaginations as a functioning alcoholic. He worked every day of his life. He managed, but he was still putting people's lives at risk by driving drunk often. Leading to his other compulsions were gambling, and you know what else he was into. But so I think in every single case like that, we are putting judgment on it. Oh, this is a good alcoholic, this is a bad alcoholic, whatever we think. And it's not our place to do that.
When I say functioning, it was definitely a loose term. Because I spent a lot of time with him. He was my dad, because my dad was an alcoholic, but just the rock bottom type, right? So, but my uncle was the type, he would drive drunk a lot. He would get angry with his wife, on occasion. He would pass out sitting on the porch and fall off the porch. He would. All of these things. So yeah, I mean,
and the
I got to see the bad of it.
Of the example they set for children and the other people. You can't measure that. And I'm not saying we should. I'm not saying we should have that judgment. I'm just saying when we put this idea of he seemed to have it all together, like a functioning alcoholic, we are giving that person some form of judgment, whether it's good or bad, but saying, well, they are harmless drunk. There's whatever.
I mean, from the outside, though, he would have absolutely seemed like just the fun guy who has drinks all the time, is what he looked like.
Outside, I get it.
But as soon as you went home with him, like I said, I spent a lot of time with him, and it was just, it's like the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing,
Yeah, but coming back to this,
because that label isn't the one that I did not assign that label to my mother. She was just my mother. Society said, okay, this is where she
was a functioning mother.
Yeah, she was. I had 2 moms. I had the sober mom and I had the drunken mom. Well, 3 moms, because then eventually I had the Jesus mom. But
I miss your mom. I wish she was here right now instead of you. Now,
say that now.
Coming back to this thing, like this idea that, I don't know, we're lucky and whatever. I think we all, and this is a hard thing, and I'm sure our lingerie correspondent probably this might pinch him in a bad direction or in a bad way. In the spirituality terms of it, I feel like we all have our own lessons to learn, and this is hard to, like, who's assigning these lessons. But I think everything that we go through, these are lessons we need to, for whatever, if you believe in spirituality or any of this kind of, there's a higher purpose to our existence. I feel like some of this is stuff we're meant to go through, for good or bad, for better or worse. It is who makes us who we are, and the lessons that we we were put on Earth to kind of explore. Does any of that ring true in Jungian, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Jung philosophy?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. That the Jung said that for him, the idea of God is really discovered within like those areas of life where things don't go according to plan, right? Like, so when the universe sort of makes things happen that are for better or worse, right? But we're not part of my plan, my ego's, how I had it laid out. That's really God working, and really seeking to bring something about, usually through me or through us. I like James Hollis is a great Jungian lecturer and author. He says that all of us, there's something that needs to manifest into the world through us, right? And that our real purpose in life is to figure out what that is and try to make it happen.
Yeah, that feels right to me. I don't know if it is right, but it feels right to me. A big part of this is this, I think, because spirituality tends to kind of lead us back to religion. So many people have a bad perception of religion. I definitely do. I disdain organized religion. And so for me, that part, anytime we talk about spirituality, it feels like we are going into a place that is just going to lead us into, now I have to become a Jehovah's Witness. Yeah. And so is that a major, I think that is a major stumbling block for most people using 12 steps to get, to find their sobriety, is that because accepting your higher power is part of it. And that feels like I'm being indoctrinated into a religion and then people reject it. Is that fair to say?
No, I mean, I think your sentiment about that is perfect. But what I find interesting is that, so Joseph Campbell said that the purpose of religion is really to keep people from having a religious experience, and really, so Bill Wilson is the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. He's the first guy that got sober. He was really drunk and just he was dying in New York City in 1934. And his friend came over and sort of told him about this religious experience he had and that it helped him to get sober. And Bill's response was that he just simply couldn't believe in that same God. He had all that stuff that you just described that I think most of us have anymore in the West. So Bill ends up that the 12 steps kind of grow out of his disdain for conventional religion. And interestingly, Carl Jung's system of thought also grows out of that same sort of soil of like the West's, when I say West, I mean like the European mind, Western culture.
Right.
We have this, our religious systems are broken. That's essentially what it is. We no longer have a myth, right, that we can adopt and live by. And so the 12 steps, as well as Jungian analysis and Jungian thought, sort of grow out of that and present what they present to the world is really a way to access religious power, if you will, but without having to be a religious person, which I found to be great news, because that's the last thing I wanted too. I actually spent some time in a religion when I was younger. And so that was sort of a hindrance for me coming into the 12 steps early on. But what I found was that, and Jung talks about this a lot, how we need to find an answer to that sort of religious conundrum that we're in the West now. Because, let's face it. I mean, if our myths were working in the West, I don't think we'd have such a horrible problem with drugs and alcohol like we do, just to name one problem, right? But there's just so many other problems that we're facing.
I always come back to this idea of we are driven by why am I here? What is what is this? Because every day we all have struggles, we all have things, but trying to figure out who we are and what the hell we're supposed to be doing and supposed to be and on whose terms, but whether you think of a higher power or whether you think just to fulfill my personal need or whatever I'm supposed to learn here, it gets confusing and it feels like I'm never going to know the answer to this. And then that's where we start to turn to like, I need to expand my mind in other ways or numb the pain or any of that kind of stuff. So, the problem is, and this is where religion or even the idea of a higher power gets confusing me. Why would a creator, if that's what you believe in, or why would we be destined to be confused about who we are and never have any answers to that in a world where it seems like we would find peace if we knew what the fuck we were doing here.
Yeah. No, it doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
And if there was, I like what Bill Wilson said. He said he said he couldn't stomach the idea of a czar of the heaven, no matter how loving his sway might be. And
right.
and so that's the thing is, like, I think the conventional religions, the problem, the way I see it, is that these religious institutions, they are insisting that these religious symbols are supposed to be understood as historical, literal facts.
Right.
But that's the problem, because people with half a brain know that just does, a man cannot be born of a virgin. That's not possible. Like biology shows us day in and day out that cannot happen. And
wouldn't it depend on which half of the brain they have, though? Because you said anyone with half a brain, if it's the left half or the right half, they may not be able to.
I have the bottom half.
See?
The bottom half.
See, yeah, he's a bottom.
Because there was one of those underpasses, and it said clearance was 5'9", and I happen to be 6 foot, so it just took off the top half of my brain.
There you go.
And he's got the bottom half, and he's got the other half.
Right, the other half. Yeah. It's a really confusing thing. I'm glad you have found a recovery. I was making fun of calling you a quitter before. Yeah, when you're in it, you might as well stick it out for the ride. That whole thing. But no, I'm glad you. Here's what I'm confused about with the programs. Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous, whatever. It's always anonymous, but everybody who is in it gives up their anonymity pretty quickly, and they want to talk about it. It's not really anonymous ever. We call it anonymous, and I never got the why does it need to be anonymous? If I feel like I really need to cleanse myself, honesty with myself and honesty with the entire world is the only way. And so hiding in anonymity is not necessarily conductive to me coming clean.
So I guess you think they should call it "Don't Drink, Don't Tell."
No, I like it. I like the opening line. My name is I'm Matt, and I'm an alcoholic, and I don't care who the fuck knows it. I need to. I'm here to get myself right with you and with the world and with myself, and not be like, well, let's keep it a secret and let's do it in the basement of the church so nobody can see us. That stuff always troubles me. Do you have any insight on that for me?
Yeah, sure. No, so there's different reasons and different platforms too for anonymity. So the tradition is that we remain anonymous at the level of press, radio, and film, which is why, like, for me, I'm not coming on here saying, hey, my name's Cody and I'm a member of Narcotics Anonymous, right?
Right.
And in my book too, I try to keep that separate. So my book doesn't tell my story. It's just sort of this discussion about spirituality in general, through the lens of Jungian thought, through the lens of 12 steps. I think that so I own a company, right? And I have employees, and I don't break my anonymity to my employees, right? Because I don't need them knowing that I have a checkered past or that I whatever. And some of them know and some of them don't, right? And I think, so we don't, it's not necessarily that we're not trying to tell anyone, but what we're trying to not do, to be really careful and navigate, is that we're not trying to become spokespeople for any of these 12-step fellowships. I'm not a spokesperson for Narcotics Anonymous. I'm not a spokesperson for Alcoholics Anonymous. That's something that's the organization's thing to deal with. I don't need to try to, paint the picture of what it looks like to be in recovery or something like that. Cause we just don't want to. I think the reason is because, if somebody doesn't like me or something, or like you see these celebrities come out and break their anonymity, right? And then 2 or 3 years later, they're drinking again. And then it kind of gives out this impression, oh, I guess AA doesn't work. That guy's not sober anymore. And so that's why we try to stay anonymous, so that we're not associated, like people don't associate the program with us. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The biggest problem, I think, for me is like what you kind of alluded to it. It's like almost like a Jehovah's thing where, he's in the program now. He's coming. He's going to try to convert me, and become really enthusiastic and evangelistic about the program, and understand that everybody has to go their own path and find the need to get that on their own. You can't make somebody want to get sober.
No,
and that's an important thing. Now, in writing the book, was the book painful at all? The experience of writing the book?
It was challenging and really hard work, but I didn't find it to be painful, because there's nothing really, I'm not like, it's not really like heart stringy, like it's not pulling on your heartstrings or anything. It's really just like a discussion about spirituality. So It's kind of nerdy, to be honest. It's pretty academic.
I was gonna say, so it sounds more like an academic, like not textbook.
Yeah.
Well, it's for me then, because I am definitely
a text lecture.
I am definitely curious and love to have discussions about spirituality, even with people who totally reject it. Because you know what, a lot of us think that science and the believing in spirit or soul or whatever you want to label it as, that they are two separate things. I feel like there are enough big thinkers, people who were like leading thought leaders in science, who were open to the idea. And when I worked in pathology, all those doctors who were around death all the time they're scientists first, but always had an idea that there's certainly some things we don't understand, and there might be something bigger at play here that we can never understand. So I'm always interested in those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
What
Go ahead. Lumpy. I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, when it comes to the big thinkers in the world and them being open to the paranormal, the spiritual, all of. You can find thousands of documents where these big thinkers are brought in for these studies done by the government and big schools and everything else, where these physicists are trying to open up the doors to these, to these things that we all thought were just either impossible or just, right?
Your
there's got to be something to it.
Yeah, yeah, just a little bit. It was muting there. Maybe it sounds more like a Wi-Fi thing. We are getting to a place where we're going to have to say goodbye to Cody because we're running out of time here. But I'm interested in this now, and this is kind of a tangent, but you mentioned about having a company, and that in 11 years sober, I'm guessing that's a triumph in itself to own your own business. But wanting to stay anonymous to your employees, or not necessarily, but just not being naked about your past. But you wrote a book, and if they read it all, they're gonna. If they go on Amazon or wherever the book is available, they're gonna. Hey, Cody Peterson, I think I know a Cody Peterson. And you're going on podcasts. There's this potential for being kind of outed unintentionally, right? And that could be even worse than just coming out and saying, "Listen, this is my past, and deal with it."
Yeah, well, I mean, and I'm not trying to, I don't hide it. Like if somebody brings it up, then I'm not, I'm the first to, just whatever. I'll own it. I don't mind, but I don't I just don't really promote it around town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote a book. So, and I posted on
I have
Facebook.
had so many authors on there. They author a book. Because some of them are really about really heartfelt trauma and all that stuff, and I understand that they don't want to share that with everybody, but they author a book, they put their real name on it, and then they come on podcasts and or any kind of interviews, and their face is out there. It's like, this isn't going to work. You're not, if you want to stay hidden, you're not going to be able to sell any books under your real name with your real face out there. Somebody's going to find out about it, and it probably, those are the times that the worst people to find out about it, because those are the people who are going to, I don't know, put it in your face or just use it against you in some way. I don't know. It's a tricky road to go down.
It sure is. Yeah.
Cody, I have a question about your book. It's actually it's about the cover.
Yeah,
see, it's a very small cover. So to me, from what I can see, the image that I see is reminiscent of what the Mexican Day of the Dead, but it looks like he's wearing like a peacock headdress. So I'm just saying, I just didn't know, for anyone who's even looking at it on a smaller screen than I am, if you could tell us a little bit about the cover.
Yeah. So the cover, a friend of mine actually carved that out of vinyl, and he prints it with like an old school printing press.
Okay.
So he's just a white guy. He's not a native.
Just a white guy.
Just a white guy. Yeah. What a terrible.
I just like to point that out because it's slightly appropriative, I guess. But the story, the image fits the story so well that I just had to use it because, like I said earlier, the guy that led Jung to Taos, his name was Jaime de Angelo. He lived in the Bay Area in Northern California. And he was out on the eastern slopes of Mount Shasta, and he was there's pretty good evidence that he was using psychedelic mushrooms as part of the native culture there. Not to say that like a lot of Native American, religious ceremonies involve psychedelics. That's not what I'm saying. But they're in this specific small tribe that he was using psychedelics with some of the shamans there. And then he leads Jung to Taos, and Jung has, kind of a breakthrough there. So I like the image because I think after people read the book, they'll understand what the image is. If you could see it more close up, it's a super psychedelic little like skeleton and all the feathers and stuff. It's very psychedelic. So my buddy who drew it certainly has.
It almost looks like the Doodah Man from Grateful Dead, kind of dressed up in.
It's kind of got that vibe to it. Yep.
But there's a lot of weird, like on your website, Cody-Peterson.com. There's a kind of a interesting image right underneath the author page that looks like it could be like a cicada or like a lobster, or I can't make out what it is, but it's very interesting and thought-provoking. So the imagery part of it is something I guess you're investing some time thinking about, no?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And actually the cover you have posted there is an earlier draft of the cover. The cover I have now is better. It's a lot better. So unfortunately,
I think I got that from your website. I
need to talk to my people and get them to update that. But yeah, the imagery is really huge for me. And the story I tell, even if you're not in the 12 steps, the first 4 chapters of the book tell an amazing story. It's super psychedelic, it's just it's all about it's really our spiritual ancestors, right? Like how Jung came to his own myth, and how Bill Wilson borrowed from Jung, and how we can all tap into that same kind of power. So,
Yeah.
I have my own history with, spending time in the mountains of Northern California and eating mushrooms and all that. So, the book is certainly, The Shadow, it really is kind of it's a plunge into the dark, really. It's not about, becoming like a righteous person or anything like that. It's quite the opposite, actually.
It's would you call it a getting to know yourself spiritual journey?
Yes, but getting to know the self, actually. So
yeah,
it's not
what I
getting
need.
to know Cody, right? It's getting to know. Right. It's getting to know. It's that mirror,
Yeah, I would love. This book is for me, even though I'm not an alcoholic. I do have some substance abuse stuff. I have lots of what I would call addictions. Obviously, coffee is an addiction, but
sure.
I do.
Would you consider AI a substance? If you let's say you're addicted to AI, could that be a substance? Maybe someone who has that issue could learn from this book.
Or lingerie. Look, he's just getting angry as we're saying this. Look, he's turning on the light and getting whiter as we say this.
Just a white guy.
Yeah, just a white guy. I think that's what triggered him. Cody, we appreciate you getting up and sharing it. Unfortunately, I brought you in late, and we ran out of time. If you'd like to come back again, we'd love to. After I read the book, love to have you back. And I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna send you a clip of Brendan Walsh's work, just so you could hear his voice and say, I could see how this people might think this. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here. It was good conversation. I just want to take the book out before we say goodbye to you. Okay, there it is. Thanks for being here. We have to move along, but please do come back. I will let you know when I'm done reading the book, and then maybe that would be a good time to have more conversation.
I would love it. There's a lot to talk about. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Have a great day and a great weekend. Bye for now. Cody Peterson, Cody-Peterson.
Oh, look, it went back to the right formation. Look at that.
Yeah, something weird. Oh, because I never went to the 5. Ron, you light. You got more light than you've ever had. Do you feel like enlightened? Is that the issue here today?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. It's
I think you've seen
right
the
because
light.
I'm one of the chosen ones, so that's why this light must shine.
That absolutely.
As soon as you said that, the light faded, and now you're fading into darkness. So,
yeah, we're gonna meet another author. We don't have time for news. Isn't that a shame that we don't have time for news?
Oh, right. I'll do the news quick. A bunch of bad shit happened. All right, moving on.
Back to you, Matt.
Shit happened. That is pretty much the news every day, isn't it?
That's a good summary.
His hands were
you
soft
should do the
and
news
supple.
every day.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some breaking news.
I don't know if that's breaking news. I think that's pretty much old news.
Well established news. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Our next author, Anastasia Lindsay. Don't you love that name, Anastasia? Come on.
I do.
It's like she should be a queen or a princess or something.
It should be used in a Rolling Stone song. Sympathy for the Devil. I was there when Anastasia.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for cracking me directly into a wall.
That's my job. If I don't do my job, I might lose it.
That's right.
This is not on Trump's
called job security.
That's like, if I don't do my job, some black guy's going to come along and steal it
because of his walls ability.
Yeah. Just on that note, somebody.
That's because I'm black.
Somebody said to me last night if they felt like if they come to one of my gigs and get drunk, that I might mafia style slap them. And I said, no, I understand that I am a liquor salesman that is allowed to bring his guitar to work. That's my whole function. They hire me. My function is to get people to buy alcohol and consume so that's why that's my purpose there. Why would I smack somebody for that?
Well, Matt, I mean, what is the best way to approach you at a gig? Should someone come up to you and say, I have a question about your mustache.
Sure.
You'll know if they do if they watch this show.
I don't. If they come up to me, they can expect me to say, "Get off my lawn." I'm a curmudgeon. I'm not
If they
the
ask about the
most social guy. I'm not a meet and greet type of guy, and this is my part of my downfall. This is why I have Mikey. Mikey is a baby kisser, a politician, and a meet and greet guy. Mikey knows the first name of all 80,000 people on the Ryan 45's fan club list. He knows anybody walks in, he knows their first name, which is
See,
incredible.
I love the meet and greets too. That's my thing. I love mingling and just talking to people. That's my shit.
We have to. We're
Same
gonna meet.
here. I just don't remember the name once it's over.
Yeah, we're gonna meet somebody new now. I started to introduce her, but then somehow this derailed itself. Always does. Anastasia Lindsley has been described as a timeless soul and an author who participates in interdimensional traveling. Now, this is a problem. Stephen can't even travel in one dimension from Indiana to Denver, but she can interdimensionally travel and maybe find like a wormhole to Denver that maybe could.
That would be great. That would be great. I bet the
Interdimensional traveling and building
baggage
beautiful.
prices would go.
Can I finish the introduction and we can meet her?
Yes.
Interdimensional traveling and building beautiful poems to capture the hearts and souls around the world, the most loving in the most loving and supportive way possible. Ladies and gentlemen, please open your ears, open your minds, and help me welcome in Anastasia. Beautiful name, Lindsay. Good morning.
Hi. Good
Thank
morning.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We want to know about this interdimensional traveling. What does that mean?
It's also known as astral traveling, so there's different terms for it. But
I've heard it called
That's
astral
what I
projection
thought
as
you was
well.
going to
Right?
go. That's my question right there. That's where I thought you were going. Yeah.
I love doing that. I haven't done it in a while, actually, but usually I don't have to try. It just happens. So when I try, I don't get anywhere. So it's like
That's
my
it.
soul's way of just telling me to relax.
Wow, if I show the book, it's kind of washed out there. You can't. This is a book called Ocean. I'm going to take it down because the image I have there doesn't do it justice. If you have a copy, they can go to summersolacehealing.com. Do you now? You say it just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
I would love it to happen. It's never happened. I've had dreams that felt lucid. I've had dreams where I was among people I know who had already passed, and it felt like it was a real situation. I'm not sure if that qualifies in any of this, but I would love to experience what you describe as astral traveling, or whatever some people call astral projection and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this is, I don't know, something you're born with, the ability? Is it part of a chemical makeup, a spiritual makeup? What is it that allows you to experience that and me not?
It might be natural, but I think it's also built upon your experiences in life. So I am a very spiritual person. So I think the more I tap into my spirituality, the more things happen naturally on their own, which is just a natural part of life. So I think too, you can't have any distractions. You have to be at like complete peace, or your mind, it can't be thinking a lot. You just have to let go. You have
This
to
is my,
surrender.
again, I've been saying this for now. I feel like it's becoming an Ibid moment where I keep talking about having Kelly Collin on, but she was talking about shutting down the seeking mind and embracing the non-seeking mind, because the seeking mind is always talking. We're always having this inner dialogue. And I was talking about my inability to actually sleep because I could not shut off my internal dialogue with myself, always thinking about stuff. And that is a quest for me. I used to be able to calm my mind a lot more than I am now. Now it's just becoming cluttered with just conversations that I shouldn't be having with myself late at night. But finding that place of quiet and peace.
Well, something easy that you can do. So I think people like they get meditation and stuff wrong. Meditation isn't like quieting your thoughts, because we're human. We're supposed to think. We're always thinking, even when you're not thinking or you don't think you are still thinking. So the goal isn't to quiet your thoughts or stop your thinking, it's to redirect your thoughts. So even if you are thinking about what you had for breakfast yesterday or a conversation that you had last week, you're supposed to redirect your thoughts to this present moment.
All
What
right,
am I thinking, feeling and doing right now, this very second.
You will have me chase with that comment. You will have me chasing my tail this entire weekend. We're always thinking, but we don't know we're thinking. But while we're not aware that we're thinking, but we're thinking even when we're not thinking.
Yes.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So my wife is convinced that I have done this astral projection thing. Okay. And
Okay.
the experience was this. So generally when I try to go to sleep at night, I have the similar issue where I just can't shut anything down or quiet anything down. So what I would do is to kind of just focus my thoughts and it would just make me fall asleep. Was I would do this exercise where I would kind of from like a camera point of view, zoom out for myself and then to like my roof, then the
Yeah.
block, the city, state, and just zoom all the way out, kind of like just into space, right? Then I would eventually fall asleep. And the
Yeah.
one night I ended up dreaming about visiting Mars. And then my wife woke me up because I wasn't breathing, I was sweating, and then she woke me up. Now I'm convinced I was just having a really like lucid dream. I'm not that's where my thought process ended at was I was just having a dream. He's convinced of
Yeah.
something else. So
If you
what's the
could
difference
control it,
between
you
the
could actually go to Denver this weekend.
Well,
I know, right?
I think lucid dreaming is just another sort of astral projection. When I do my astral traveling, it is like a zoomed out, like I can see myself sleeping. I'm like outside of my body. I don't know where I'm at, but I can see myself there sleeping as if I'm not in my body anymore. So the fact that you said like I felt like I was in Mars, like I think that lucid dreaming is just another form of astral traveling, and it's going to look different for every single person. For me, I am outside of my body, but I do know people that travel in their body. They have their body with them. I was outside of my body.
Wow.
But for me, the difference, well, let's put it this way. If one, it appears to me that if one is actually astral projecting, then they should be able to come back with information they did not have prior to that journey, something that they would have gathered there. So if I actually astral projected to my neighbor's house, I should be able to come back with something like saying, like what's in the refrigerator. I would know, even though I've never opened a refrigerator, as opposed to a lucid dream where I can imagine what they're, because I've been in their house. I've just never looked in the refrigerator. I could have a lucid dream based on that experience.
Yeah.
So now, Anastasia, to GD's point and to clarify here, do you, first of all, do you think astral projection is a real phenomena? And if so, if not, does it matter? I mean, if it's a profound experience, sometimes whether it's real or just imagined doesn't matter. I'm just, first of all, do you think it's a real, based in reality phenomena?
I do think it's real, but I also think that even if it was imagination, that I do hypnosis, so even parts of your imagination is real. Like everything is real, you know. I mean, somewhere out there in the world, people think that Bigfoot is still walking around because maybe that's imagination, maybe he is real. We don't know, but somewhere out there really does believe that he's real, imagination or not. So I
But
think that there are aspects of life that may or may not be real, but they are real to somebody
when
somewhere.
somebody becomes a literalist and wants to see proof, as GD just kind of alluded to, I want to see proof that it's real. Like you should come back with useful information that you could not have known otherwise. Does that dampen the experience for you? Or
For me, yes, because I'm more interested in the experience itself. So whether I bring something back or not, I think when I go on these quests, it's not to go looking for anything. It's just to experience leaving in the first place and seeing what I run into and what kind of occurrences I have with other people that are astral traveling as well. Because I meet people who are also astral traveling and we have conversations with each other. But then when we wake up the next day, it's like we never talk to each other. Like there's a part that doesn't feel real. Like we were never talking to each other, but we remember it in a different dimension.
Well, you would know if you ever passed Ron Kane in that astral projection lane because he would be playing Nicolas Cage videos for you, and that would be
You
your
know,
proof.
in that portion of the conversation that you were talking about with the proof, right? So the United States government has been researching astral projection, not just
Mhm.
remote viewing, but astral projection since the
Right.
late 50s.
Right.
Yeah.
And
40s.
or late 40s, sorry. And if you look through the documents, some of it says that they had positive proof of, like, for example, they were using it more for espionage and for
Mm.
exploring other
Right.
planets and things like that. But they were coming back with information at times.
Yeah.
So, you know, there is, I guess, some proof out there, depending on how much
I'd
you're
be
willing to trust
careful
that
about
evidence. But
I'd be careful
look
about
with a grain of salt.
proof.
Yeah.
There is compelling evidence. I'm
Slippery
not
slope for
calling
sure.
it. Proof
Well,
is
it's definitely
conclusive.
evidence. I wouldn't call it proof.
Yeah, conclusive proof is always subjective. Like, it could be coincidence. It could be lots of stuff. Could really good guessers, and I've had that. But I don't think that matters. I think here's the thing with proof. For hard people who don't want to accept proof, there will never be enough proof. For people who want to believe, the slightest bit of compelling evidence will be considered conclusive proof. All that kind of stuff leaves a lot of muddy area for where reality lies and where and what it's all about.
I used to tell my daughter that it's quite often, well, there's what you think, there's what you feel, what you believe, what you think, what you can prove, but most importantly, what you can convince people of. That's the top rung. That's more important than proof and belief and feelings. It's what you can convince people of.
Well, I hate to give you credit for anything, but that's pretty good.
I was a good dad. I was a good dad.
Can you prove that?
I convinced my kids of that.
Yeah. All right. Now, Anastasia, in the Summer Solace Healing.com name, healing is the part that sticks out to me.
Yeah.
And having been part of a school of healing, I find that many people find that word confusing. Let me explain. Some people think healing means curing.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that. Everybody has their own definition. It's like God. We have 8 billion people on the planet. 8 billion people can define God in a different way. Healing can be defined in almost 8 billion different ways. So
Yeah.
how do you define healing?
Well, I definitely agree that healing does not mean cured, because I never use the term healed, because that means past tense, that I'm officially cured. So healing is continuous. It's a continuous journey. Things that happened to me in the past, do they affect me as much now? No, but I'm still healing from those things. So that's what healing is to me. It's continuously working through the things that maybe make you sick, or you have any illnesses, or the things that happened to you in the past. You're never going to be able to forget them, but you don't want them to affect your life going forward. So healing to me is just on the continuous journey of getting better, recovering, but I'll never use past tense healed, because you can't be cured. We're never going to be 100% healed from the things that happen to us, but we can work towards healing where they don't bother you anymore. But they're still a part of your story.
Probably the best explanation of that I've heard in 40 years of asking that question.
Thank you.
I really apologize for this. I don't know why the book came in so washed out. The book is called Ocean, and the image I have is not very good. I should have tested that before the show.
That's okay.
For Steven's benefit, I'm going to say 3 words. I fucked up. Okay. But now, is the healing part of it facilitated in the writing, the reading? So basically, is writing poetry healing for you, or can it be healing for people on the reading end of the consumption end of it, or both?
Definitely both. So Ocean is filled with over 200 poems of my own personal journey, my story, and my experiences, which was very healing to write. Poetry has always been very healing for me. But I designed it in the way that when someone picks up my book and reads it, it will be healing for them as well. It might be triggering, it might make them remember their own experiences, but I want them to bring those up so that they can work through them. So within my book, I also have lighthouse pages, and those are deeply reflective pages for the reader to take a break from reading poetry, to drink water, to journal, to do some meditation. So I really designed it to be healing for the reader as well. Like, it's not just my story. We're going to help you work through your story as well, too.
Right. Is there a particular? Cause Henry Rollins used to say about poets. Poets are people who intentionally muddy their waters to make them appear deep, and that always resonated with me because I didn't understand. And there are still lots of poems I can read and not get them, and it makes me feel
Same.
stupid. It's like, what am I supposed to be getting from this stuff?
Yeah.
A typical style. I mean. Again, poetry can be so many things. It could just be prose, and people will call that a poem, and there's no structure to it. What does your work look like? Is it like haiku or any of that kind of stuff?
No, I don't do haiku. I do a little bit of prose, but mine is very based on storytelling. So you can open a page in my book and be able to know what I'm talking about. I am telling you a story through my poetry. So I as well have read poems. I'm like, I don't know what this poet is trying to say. So it's not that we're stupid or dumb, but sometimes I think that poets have this really deep, complex level to them that sometimes we will never understand what they're saying. But you can take that poem and make it your own. How does
Yeah.
this apply to me? Like, I'm going to break it down myself and just see how it works for me. But
Sometimes it feels like modern art. Like, why don't I
Yeah.
get this? Why
Yeah.
everybody else gets it? Why am I the only
There's
idiot
some
here?
hard poems out there to dissect, and I'm a poet myself, and I still have a hard time. But yeah, mine's very storytelling. I'm telling you a story through poetry.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'll just say, a friend of mine who's a publisher gave me a book of poetry, and she asked me to read it and critique it. And during his forward, he says, "I wrote this book so that people to reflect the world that I want to live in."
Oh, I love that.
And so, but then the book was the most depressing, awful thing I'd read. I'm like, wait a minute, is this the world you want to live in? Because
Oh
this is really
gosh.
terrible. This is really terrible. These are terrible poems and terrible book. What the hell? But I was expecting something totally different because he says this is the world I want to live in, and
Yeah.
I was expecting a really nice place.
Maybe
How did that
was wrong?
How'd that conversation go? I mean, did you bring up the fact that it's a depressing world, and it seems like you really want a terrible world? Did you have that conversation?
Like, dude, this sucks.
I reached out to the person who asked because they wanted me to read the book and critique it. It wasn't their book; they were a publisher, and they have a radio show with authors, and they wanted me to critique the book and then come on their show and talk about it. I did not, and I told them what I thought of the book before the show. I never made it to the show.
All right, so for Anastasia's purpose here, do not send your book to GD to be critiqued.
I feel like
avoid that at all
maybe that
costs.
person that wrote that book, maybe that is their world, and so they want it to be normalized. I
Yeah.
think that maybe with depression and schizophrenia and anxiety, they're actually seeing the world for what it is. And so we're diagnosing them and then providing medication to get rid of how they really see the world. Maybe it's just a way of him trying to normalize that and maybe
That
not
could be.
see it in a negative
Maybe
way.
that could very well be. The thing is, he says this is the world I want to live in, and then he
Yeah.
makes it sound so. Now, if he had said this is the world as I see it, and I'd like to make it better, I would
Yeah.
have said okay. But he
Right.
says this is the world I want to live in. I'm thinking, what's wrong with you? Because this is not a world anyone I know wants to live in.
Well, that comes back to the idea, and I hate to be redundant about this. I don't really hate to. I'm lying. I like to be redundant about this because obviously I do it over and over
Your
and over.
middle name is Ibit.
But yeah, my name Matt Ibid Napo. It's this idea of good and evil, and maybe this person just, just likes the dark side and wants a world that is very dark, and wherever that comes from, whether that comes from internal or external, I think those forces are real. I'm not sure where they come from. I don't mean to drag it back into that, but that could be a possible answer. Like this person just has a darkness in their persona, and they actually enjoy suffering. They enjoy the suffering, enjoy other people's suffering, which is not a good thing.
No.
Is all part of. Somewhere in your bio, I read the word shamanism, like you're a student of shamanism or something like that. Can you define what that is? Because I've heard that word a billion times. I've never asked, what do you mean?
I was studying that, but I'm no longer doing that. So I'm just focused on my poetry and healing with my words now. I was studying with my hypnosis teacher and traveling through the power of hypnosis to learn from ancestors of different healing modalities, but I quickly realized that this is not the path that's for me. So I'm no longer down that path.
Well, like Cody, our previous guest on, I pointed out some things on his website. He said, I got to have my people work on it. I think it was his book cover. They had the wrong book cover on there. And he said, I'll have my people work on it. You get your people to take shamanism off your bio.
Yes, absolutely.
If you have people, if you don't have people, we can sell you some. I have a few on sale today in minddog.com/merch. You can find some people.
I'm half off.
You are half off.
Well, I'm my own team, so I'll update my bio.
Okay. The ocean. I'm curious about this because I live on the ocean, and I have always felt people will take this as being like weird or something. A spiritual connection to the ocean. I feel like this is where we came from, and that we are never really that far separated from water. There's water in everything. There's water below the water. Why did you name the book Ocean? Is there a spiritual connection to ocean in your mind?
It came to me through meditation, actually. So I was kind of reflecting on all of the poems within my book, and I was trying to come up with a title that really encapsulated everything. And so my book is a very deeply healing book, and water was always healing for me, whether it's drinking water, visiting the beach, or just being around water, hearing the sounds of water. And then I knew I wanted a place of calm for other people. And so ocean just came to me. I just saw the word ocean flash before my eyes, and I was like, okay, that's going to be the title of my book. And all of my poems seem to have some type of water connection. Maybe not all, but there's a lot of water presence in my book, so it just made sense to name it Ocean.
It is so true that in the scientific community, the search for liquid water is the key to search for life. So there is some absolutely scientific connection between water and life. And I think there is also some kind of spiritual connection. Anybody who lives on the ocean, and if you're a surfer or fisher or have anything to do with the lifestyle of living on an island like I do, it's hard to deny the overpowering feeling of a connection to something larger than you when you are sitting looking at the Pacific Ocean or Atlantic Ocean or whatever. I imagine it's the same in the Indian Ocean, probably not the same in the Arctic Ocean. Probably you just want a coat. That's probably so. I'm just interested in that. Now, long form poems are how long is the poetry? Like
most of them are a page, but there are some that kind of dabble in the 2 to 3 page range, but not that many. I try to keep them very short and simple because I know that a lot of times your words can get lost the longer your poem is, but a lot of them are just storytelling. So it is just like reading a story.
Right. Now, do you get, because, I don't know. I know lots of poetry writers. I don't know lots of people. I never see them with a poetry book that they're reading somebody else's poetry. I'm just curious, who's the audience for poetry in this day? Is it mostly women? Mostly young women, right?
Mainly, yes, but I do have some male readers as well. It's really for anybody that's just longing for something deeper in their life, or they're trying to get out of a rut that they're in. So it's not specific to any gender. I do gravitate towards more females with my books, but I do have a lot of male readers as well. And it's just something deep and reflective for anybody, whether if you're just a soul. If you have a soul, this book is perfect for you because we all go through things, no matter what you look like, who you are, what your age is. We all have a story, right? We all have went through things. So this book is for anybody who has went through anything, and you want to get rid of that. You want to get past that. You want to work from healing through those things. So, I mean, we've all kind of experienced heartbreak in some form. Maybe it's not with another person, but maybe losing a job or losing a family member. We all have experienced loss in some form. So, it's just taking the human experience and turning it into poetry.
The
So
human
you're saying, you said anybody with a soul, but so that means redheaded children can't enjoy your book, because we all know redheads don't have souls.
I will not. Yeah, I won't say anything.
Oh, you don't have to say it. It's just a fact. It's one of the things that I can prove.
I have never heard that before. To be
You never
honest.
heard that gingers don't have a soul?
No, I never heard that because
man, that's like a very popular trope.
I'm lost on that because I've always had a thing for redheads, so that's going to make me depressed now. But it would explain a lot of the relationships I had if I come back to that. Anyway, thanks for ruining my life, GD.
Again, you're welcome.
Yeah. Now, if in your journey in sharing these things, is it challenging? I mean, your purpose, I think, if you don't mind me just assuming some things here, that your purpose is to share your journey, as not only to heal your own self, but to enable other people to find healing within your story. Has that been frustrating in any way, whether it's the publishing industry, this kind of stuff? Have you found any kind of challenges in fulfilling your mission with what you've started to do?
Not necessarily. I think it is really hard for authors to get their work out there. So it's
Yeah.
like a slow organic growth, but I do see growth. I do see sales increases. I do see followers, so it's been a good journey. I just think that sometimes the wrong things go viral. And I
Right.
don't mean any disrespect by that, but it's like when you have artists out there, authors, even podcasts, that really want to get their message out there and they struggle, but then you see the wrong messages getting shared, that can be frustrating.
Right.
Because you have something good that you want the world to see, and it's just not happening.
This is a thing I struggle with daily, because now that we have AI cutting up 2-hour programs, 2.5-hour programs into 60-second sound bites, and I'm not sure they are necessarily the most flattering portrayal of the message that the guest was trying to get out, or any of that kind of stuff. Some of it is just like, what? So we're trusting robots and artificial intelligence to discern what is of value, and it's not often what the guest or even some of the hosts would want putting out there. So that's a struggle that I deal with regularly, and I'm not sure what the answer is, other than get rid of the robots and do all the work yourself, which is not appealing.
No, I mean, AI is great for like assistance. I use it as an assistant, but I'll never find joy in having that replace what I do. I mean, AI can write poetry, but it's never gonna have the human behind it.
Right.
So we can't get rid of the human experience, but we can use these as tools and resources. They're great for that. We just can't have them be our replacement, you know.
Now, summersolacehealing.com. When I first saw that, I just read it as summer solstice, because that's what that's the term I'm used to. And I typed that in and it came up as nothing. What is summer solace healing? Why that word, solace?
Summer is actually named after my niece, and then solace, I have always been drawn to that word. Like, I just find solace wherever I am. And I try to, at least, because I'm still human and I make mistakes, or I have my days, but I ultimately try to find joy wherever I am or whatever I'm doing. That's what fuels me, is just being on the pursuit of finding joy, peacefulness, happiness, and then healing, of course, just working through your story.
Well,
So
that's
I
a
just,
gift.
yeah,
I'm not sure I could ever acquire that gift, because
it's hard.
it
I won't say
definitely.
it's easy.
Yeah.
It's fun. I grew up pronouncing that word solace. I think I'm not sure, but when I hear solace, I think of SOULESS. You know, it's like
soulless.
Yeah, soulless healing. Yeah, so just again back to the gingers. You know,
Yeah.
so
You're just living to depress me, aren't you? Why don't you just move in here and just the minute I wake up, you can deliver me a really gloomy. Like I don't have enough to be curmudgeonly about. I need you to.
You know, I couldn't live with you. You have too many cats and chickens and wild turkeys and deer. It would be like living here. So there's no point in moving to New York.
Yeah. Now, do you do readings? Do you go and do poetry readings of your book?
Yeah, so I've been traveling all over the US, mainly in Illinois, but also Arizona. I've been to a few other states, Florida, North Carolina. So I just try to find bookshops that will take local or non-local authors just to do poetry readings, book signings, and that's how I keep busy.
That what you just said confused me for a moment. I'm easily confused if I haven't figured this out yet. But when I say, like, if I say, yeah, we do a lot of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Illinois, and Arizona are just like, you might as well say like Canada and Australia.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to both. Like, I mean, I live in Illinois, but I've traveled to Arizona. So I want to travel far with my book. I'm
Very
okay with
cool.
going to California.
Well, you're traveling far this morning. We are being heard. I know we have some people in Australia because I can see on the map for the radio people. We have people. It's probably the middle of the night right there. But so you're traveling far today. But I'm just curious about these poetry readings. Are they done in like traditional venues, coffee houses, libraries? Where would you do a poetry reading?
I've done a few in Barnes and Noble, but mainly I try to find like artists, like art places. Coffee shops are my favorite. Just the smell of coffee and poetry, they just go hand in hand. I've done some outside as well, just having a mic and popping up outside. So mainly bookstores. If there's books, that's perfect. If there's coffee, that's even better. Art and poetry are perfect. So those are my 3 top places to go.
Right. Are you continually writing poetry, even though the book is out? Are you a person who writes every day?
Yes, I am. I have 2 books in process right now.
Wow. Are you I use the word discipline. What I mean by that is somebody who dedicates the same time every day, same place every day to be a writer, or do you kind of wait for the spirit to hit you there? That's a corny way of putting that, but the muse to hit you.
Yeah, so I'm not a dedicated writer. My life is way too busy for that. Every day, my schedule is different. So there's no way I could possibly write for the same day because I may be free this morning, but I will not be tomorrow. So I just usually have to pull over on the side of the road and write a poem that I'm thinking about. Or if I'm at work and I'm in the middle of a report, I'm like, no, I have to write this poem. Like it just hits me. I have to write about it. I'll try to like scribble some notes if I can come back to it, but I'm very in the moment. Something hits me. I might see 2 people holding hands on the sidewalk and then I'll have to write a poem about them.
For people in New York right now, if you're driving, do not be writing poetry while driving. There's a law against it. Hands-free. Yeah. Now, do you write with longhand on a pad and paper? Is that so? The entire book is written that way?
Not the entire book. So most of it stemmed from pen and paper, but a lot of it was just on my phone because I was on the go, didn't have my notebook with me. So it's just a mixture. Whatever I have with me, that's what I use.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just curious here because songwriting and poetry, a lot of people think that they are interchangeable. They are not. I'm a songwriter. Most of my stuff could not be read as a poem, but I have some that can. But the writing process, like I will write something, and before it's ready for release or publication or anything, it's changed significantly by the time. As a poet, do you just go with your first natural instinct, or do you edit later on and change the work?
Yeah, I usually do not edit my work. How it comes out, how I'm feeling it, that's how I keep it. Now, if there's something grammatical that I didn't catch, yes, but I will never go back and change a poem to maybe make it sound better or fit better. How I wrote it in that moment is how I was expressing it. That's how I want it to stay. So,
Wow.
yeah, I don't change it.
I think that's probably one of the few art forms where that might be true, because I think every other art form that I can think of, most people do some editing along the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I know that works for me. I never want to change the meaning of a poem, or if I read something and I really don't know if I like how it sounds, maybe I'll change it, but I really try to stick with what I was writing and keep it that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, in our previous interview, it was the author who was on before you this morning. He was an alcoholic and drug addict and had to hit rock bottom. And I asked him, of course, about what that was like, because you hear that term rock bottom all the time. But that's what facilitated his journey of healing himself and sobriety.
Yeah.
What started you on this using poetry as a, obviously there was something that needed to be healed within you, and I know you don't use healed as a past tense, but in this, I'm talking about in the past tense, looking forward,
Yeah.
something needs to be healed. Would you share what started
Yeah.
you on this journey?
So I've actually been writing poetry since grade school. It wasn't up until maybe 5, 6 years ago when I really started diving deep and using it for healing. But I was in a toxic relationship. I was in a toxic workplace. So I was going back and forth. I was leaving home to go to a place of work where I was not safe. And then I was leaving work to go home to a place where I wasn't safe. And I knew that something had to change. I didn't know what that looked like. I was very scared. So I leaned on the one thing that I did know, which was poetry.
Wow.
And so that kind of helped me in that transition period where I started applying for new places. I started mustering up the strength to leave this person. And so I really leaned heavily on my poetry to help me get through those times, because I don't think I would have made it without.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, not to make light of your situation, but to make light of your situation, was that toxic relationship with a redhead?
No, it was not.
All right, good for you. Because I'm going to be doing too much thinking. This whole morning has given me too much for a weekend that I'm not going to be able to let go of.
Basically, what we've learned is Matt, when he's not thinking, he's still thinking. He just doesn't know he's thinking about redheads that were bad for him in his past, so he needs healed.
Now, are you a person who believes in? I don't know how, because the school of healing I was part of was auric healing, human
Mhm.
energy field. Do you believe in that part of our nature?
Yeah, so I actually used to do Reiki and sound healing. I'm in a big shift now, so even though I don't practice those modalities anymore, I still believe in them. I still know that they're real, but I'm really, really focused on my healing journey with words, with my poetry. But very much so, I believe in all of that. Very spiritual still.
Well, this is my biggest area of confusion at the moment in my life, is thinking we have a lot of different terms of energy field, soul, spirit. People can come up with lots of different ways to describe the essence of who we are. And I'm just, I don't know if it has to be something magical, or it's
Mhm.
something chemical and physical and all this stuff. It's very confusing to me. I think for a lot of people, once you start talking about these things, they tune out and turn off, because it represents something
Yeah.
that we don't want to face. It's scary, because it always comes back to facing your own truth and acknowledging your own shortcomings and where things might have gotten wrong. It's a lot of introspection, and I don't think as a society we are given to too much introspection. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. Maybe a little too much.
Yeah. So part of reading poetry, it induces introspection. You're asking people to engage into something that it's scary for a lot of people,
Yes, it
right?
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's needed. We have to do that. I mean, even though it's scary, sometimes what we're fearful of is on the other side of that is something bigger and greater that we wouldn't have achieved had we have not went through that scary thing. So sometimes you have to, but you also have to keep in mind, like, is your fear helping you stay safe in this moment? I don't want anyone to ever do anything that's unsafe for them. But if it's just scary because you're not sure what might happen or what's on the other side of it, I just encourage people to try, see what that looks like for you, because I was scared to leave that job. I was scared to leave that person, but that was not what was keeping me safe. I was not safe. I was just scared of what was on the other side of making it through.
No, I
That
think
rings
some
true.
honestly, I think some people are afraid of growth, not because of not necessarily because they don't know what's coming, but they know what they're leaving. They're leaving familiar, and leaving familiar is also very scary. It's
Yeah.
part of yourself is dying when you do that. When you leave that behind you, that part kind of dies.
Yeah,
And
you still have to mourn that part too. I
yes,
cried when I
yes.
left both the job and the person. I remember crying for days and I thought, "Well, what's wrong with me? Why am I crying about this? You know, I should be celebrating." But you still have to mourn that loss. It's still a loss, even
Mourning
though it's a
loss,
loss that
yeah.
you needed to get rid of.
A big part of, and this is something that I have trouble even explaining to myself in moments of fear. First of all, I think that we are reluctant to acknowledge fear because, well, just the acknowledgement of fear in our minds paints us as weak, even to ourselves, but to the world. So we're slow to acknowledge fear. But in every instance in my life where I've taken extreme leaps of faith, left a very well-paying job with no cushion to fall on, no safety net to fall on, just walked away from it. Every time I've done that, great things have happened because of it. But
Yeah.
it's hard to recommend that because you're asking people to go, walk on a wire without a net, and
Mhm.
that's a dangerous thing. There is always danger in it, but I can say without a doubt, every time I have taken that leap of faith, my life has improved because of it.
Mhm.
It's a strange, if you believe in spirituality, it's a strange setup to create. Is
Yeah.
that, yeah, we're going to make it as scary as possible, and only those who are willing to really be brave enough to make that choice will experience the greatest successes in it. Risk reward stuff.
Yeah.
Um, what are the greatest rewards for you in this journey of becoming a poet and putting yourself out there?
I would say connection. So I feel like even though we live in a really big world, it still feels very lonely and isolating. We still have people that feel very much alone. They don't have family, they don't have people they can reach out and talk to. So for me, it's connection. That's been the most rewarding part is through my journey of vulnerability, I'm helping others know that they are not alone. And it's crazy. Sometimes I'll even write a poem. It's not about me. I'm not sure where I'm pulling it from. I'll post it on social media and then I'll get a message. I feel like you wrote that poem just for me. That's exactly what I'm going through. So for me, it's like connecting and sharing our stories to show that
Right.
we really are not alone. We don't have to be. We can reach out and depend on one another. We don't have to do this journey alone. We're not supposed to do it alone. Or else
Yeah.
if we were, I would be the only person on this planet. We're supposed to depend on other people.
It is so bizarre that with 8 billion people around here, we can feel lonely.
Mhm. I
I feel
know.
all alone. Well, there's 8 billion of us, and there's going to be 25 billion by 15, 20 years from now, and we're still complaining about. And complaining is a big part of it. It's just not
Mhm.
noticing that there are people out there. Big part of it, I think, is the divisive nature. We do have conflict. Conflict is part of the human experience, and the conflict and divisiveness seem to become they're growing and becoming a bigger force in our lives, and that instills fear of connection
Mhm.
and making. But a big part of that is making yourself vulnerable. A lot of people mistake vulnerability for weakness.
They
When
do.
I think it's generally strength. It's the courage to make yourself vulnerable that it leads to growth. But a lot of people will mistake that for weakness, and then think, well, I can take advantage of this now, and bullying becomes part of it.
Yeah.
Psychologically bullying and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you are gonna experience that. Like I wish I could say that this journey has been easy, and it hasn't, but it's been the most rewarding. And I think a lot of us, we just like to paint pictures for people. We want people to think this about us, that we have this beautiful life, that we're not living in fear, or we've got it all figured out, but none of us really do. So if we can start owning that truth, we can start becoming more open with one another. I don't have things figured out. You don't have things figured out, but we're working towards that. So if we work towards that, we can help other people do the same thing as well. We can't act like things are okay when they're not. Be open about it. Be like, I am struggling today. And you would find that maybe the person that you're talking to is also struggling today. And
Yeah.
you guys can form a connection that will help you move past this terrible day that you're having.
Beautiful.
Now I have a question about what did you learn from your audition for The Voice?
That was very, very scary for me, but I learned that I have the confidence because I have struggled with insecurity. I almost backed away that day. I traveled 2 hours away for this audition. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do something else. I'm going to go do something fun. I'm not doing this. But I did it anyways. And so it showed me that even if I didn't make it, there was a lot of confident people that auditioned with me that I thought were going to make it who didn't. So they're looking for like very specific voices. So even though I didn't make it, I still felt very confident in myself that I
Yeah.
was able to do something that terrified me. I almost backed away.
I think you have to do that in life. You have to, again, this comes back to that leap of faith thing that I was talking about. If some of these things are scary, I think you have to, if I know anything, and I probably don't, but if I know anything about life, I would say the lesson I'm taking from life is the biggest rewards come from facing your fears, whether they pan out as you imagine, the result is what you imagine or not. At least that when you're done with it, you will have the acknowledgement that I didn't let that destroy me. I didn't let that stop me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And you'll be surprised at what you find out about yourself. I mean, we like to say we know ourselves better than anyone else, but I'm still discovering things that I did not know about myself. So have fun with it too. It might be scary, but try to think of it as like another challenge. Like, I wonder what else I can discover about myself today. Like, who am I? Like, this is
Yeah.
really cool. I just did that. And just have fun.
Yeah.
have
Just
a question.
Kiera, who was my previous co-host on this program, she had to audition for The Voice. She's a phenomenal singer, and what I came away with from just listening to her experience, it's not so much they're looking for voices; they're looking for people who are television friendly. You know, that we don't all the camera doesn't love everybody. The television as a
Unfortunately.
medium doesn't love everybody, and
Right.
they're looking for people that are going to get people just like tuning in every week and that kind of stuff, and
Yes.
driving ratings. People sometimes who have quirks, strange things about them that they can exploit or take advantage of, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So you can never look at it as I think we have a tendency to think, well, maybe I'm not talented enough, or maybe my voice isn't what they want. They are looking for something they could take advantage of to make dollars for themselves, and that's the ultimate thing about it.
Yeah. And I never take no as like a no. It's either not this or it's something better. So obviously my something better was poetry because I really have landed on something that I feel joy and that I feel like I could take with me forever. And I still sing, I just don't need to do it professionally or on TV. So I always just think like maybe that's what I thought I wanted, but what I really needed was poetry, and that's where I am now.
You're aware that there's an entire movement based on the fact that no means no, right?
Well,
No,
but
and somebody
not
wrote
this or something better.
that when she said that, that same thought was triggered in me, because somebody I know, a female friend on Facebook, wrote, "No does not mean no does not mean maybe. No does not mean try again. No does not mean convince me." And as I was reading that, I knew she was talking about in terms of sexual or relationship stuff, but then I thought everything in the sales world contradicts that message. No is just an opportunity to find out objections and overcome those objections and all that stuff. So the sales world teaches the opposite of a message that feminists want out in the world, that no means no.
Well, I think it comes down to boundaries. So you have to understand boundaries. But, in the business world, like with me, it took me a while to get into Barnes and Noble. Like I was getting not now or maybe, we don't really do that kind of thing here. Or we don't do author events. So I never took that as a sign to give up. But like in that sense, yes, if someone says no and they're uncomfortable about something, it is not your job to keep pursuing that. No does mean no in those senses. So
yeah, I think it's really important to stress that the boundaries issue with this, because men are dumb. We're like dogs. We are, you just throw the ball and we'll go get it and bring it back. But when it becomes complicated like that, especially if you're in a business situation where you're always being told no is not the end of it, and then you go meet a woman and she says no, and like, well, because when I was young, I had a friend who dated a girl before me, and he said she's going to say no, but she really wants it. Believe me, I know. I pushed it and I got it. And I did not have that. I never had that in my foundation. No, it always felt like a hard no to me. And so, but there were people who just take the wrong messages from. It's unrelated fields. Sales and dating are not the same thing.
They're not the same, and you just have to read the person that you're with. You will know if they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And if they say no, you don't pursue it anymore for your own pleasure or gains. Like just take that no. But in the business world, a lot of people have to say no because there's so many people that want in or want to do this. Like it becomes oversaturated. But if you believe in yourself and you think that you deserve to be there, why not try? Unless they do tell you no, then I go back to that saying, not this or something better. So I stop there and I go find that something better, or not this or not right now, so I never used that in any other way ever.
Yeah. Does it and we are short on time, so I'm going to let you go, but I really want to ask this question about does in the writing of this stuff, and because what you write about and what you're sharing, is there ever overwhelm in the emotion where you feel like you've untapped a dam to a river that you can't stop again? Like the emotions just come flowing way too strong, and then you can't get a hold of it. Have you had that experience?
No, I'm a very emotional person, so I cry at least 3 times a day anyways, so I'm able to stop, but I know that I may cry again in a few hours. So for me, that's my experience. I'm just very sensitive, but I can go as deep as possible. I have went as deep as possible, and if it does feel overwhelming in that moment, then I take a break. So
Is that a curse or a blessing to be that sensitive where you cry 3 times a day?
I want to say, well, I used to say it was a curse, but now it is a blessing because that's just a part of who I am. That's how I experience life. And I can connect with people on a deeper level sometimes. And I don't know, for me, it's turning out to be more of a blessing.
Yeah,
Does it cost you a lot in handkerchiefs or tissue, facial tissue, Kleenex?
No.
I mean, are you like a sleeve wiper or you have Kleenex?
I just usually do my hands. I just wipe my tears from my face like that.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate you sharing your vulnerability with this audience here today. This has been a very interesting morning. One final question: do you believe in coincidence? Because I don't. I let the guests pick their days, and this has been a double dose of spirituality, self-discovery, sharing deep personal pain and moments like that. Do you believe? And it happens beyond my control. And I stopped believing in coincidence. I feel like there is something pulling the string for
Yeah,
you.
I call them meant to be's, that they're just meant to be. Like there's some force out there that's kind of that brought us all together today for some reason on September 27th. All of the topics today were about the same thing. I just call those meant to be's. Like it was just supposed to happen.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you for being here, and we
Thank
wish you
you.
great success. Summer Solace, or you call it Solace,
Solace.
healing.com, and you'll find out where you can get the book and about everything that Anastasia does and is involved in. So,
Yeah, thank you so much. It was really fun today.
been our pleasure.
Good
Thank you
meeting you.
very much for being here.
Thank
Good luck
you.
with.
Nice to meet you all.
Bye for now. I know what the meant to be was for today.
It's
The
like
meant
a
to be
honeybee.
was no, it was we were meant to melt the cold heart of our lingerie correspondent. I am a curmudgeon. He's younger, but he's definitely got the curmudgeonly spirit.
Got it down.
Get off my lawn, you spiritual
Peace.
healing, poetry writing. He's just a mean. He's a broken.
Get off my
angry
lawn, you hippies.
So our purpose here was to get through to him, kind of make him smile, and we haven't done it. Look at him.
No, he's smiling. He's smiled. He's an
That's a
internal
smile?
smiler. You see his teeth around his heart, and right now the teeth in his heart are smiling.
I don't think so.
No, right here. You have to look here. He smiles right here.
Oh. All
Yeah,
right.
right
No, he's
there.
messing with his light. It's acting like he doesn't even hear us. Like, I don't hear those assholes. Look at him. Oh, he smiles.
Smile.
When I called us assholes, that light.
Yep.
Now I can
Assholes gets him going.
Go ahead.
Just
I use my mental to astroglide every night. I apply it with gentle strokes and a loving hand that cannot be matched. If you want to see my nuts, look down and see how the peak from my shorts. Summer solstice? How about solstice on my face?
Leonardo DiCaprio also has his own key to the store. Obviously, you can just come and go. Look at what it did to me. It made me white like you. I hate to be white.
Wasn't that a book, White Like Me? Oh no, that's the
that was a book. Black Like Me, right?
Black Like Me.
Same thing. Black, white. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Other than the color difference, or pigment difference, or the amount of whatever. I don't know.
You're allowed to own.
And my reaction time might have been down there for a second because of those 4 dabs that I just took a few minutes ago.
My God.
Well,
Jesus Christ.
Spam risk. Thank you, spam risk. I'm not answering spam risk. When my phone comes up with spam risk, I can relate to the idea of crying 3 times a day, because I don't know if you guys are aware of this. The minute we end this show, I cry like a baby because you have you've all inflicted psychic damage on me.
I do my crying before I go on the air.
Oh, thank God. We thought you were not crying after the show. We're doing our job.
I thought you were missing us like a gay.
I cry like a baby. But
Matt, I go to sleep every night going, hopefully this is the day we break them.
And then to make sure he goes to Instagram and finds something.
Yeah, Matt, I'm sorry I didn't respond like a crybaby like you wanted. I know you were really hoping to dig into that a little bit. I'm sorry.
No, I wasn't hoping to dig into that. Actually, I get enough of that in my life with somebody else that you know about. And no, I'm glad you didn't take it as that. But I know, here's the thing. I'm very conscious and aware that I can be the world's biggest dick, acting like I know it all and all this stuff. I'm not, and I don't want to come off as that way. You know what, Stephen, to be honest with you, anything I can do within my power to do to help you in your career or towards what you want to do in your goals in comedy, I would be happy to help if I could in any way. And when I see those kind of deflections, of because I made that mistake as a 30-something guy, as a 20-something guy, 30-something guy, 40-something guy, made those mistakes of thinking, this was something that happened to me, rather than what can I learn from this in terms of next time I'm presented with this opportunity, what can I do to make sure it's not coming down to the day before, when I've already put it out to my audience, put it out to people who are there to support me, that I'm going to be doing this. It looks really, really bad to them when you say, at that Denver trip that I told you about, it's off. Oh, why? And now I'm going to come up with rationalization and excuses, when the truth is, I failed to tie up or to dot the I's, cross the T's at the moment when I was presented with that. And if you can take that away from it, even if I end up looking at like a dick for being the one to point it out to you, and next time it doesn't happen again, I feel like I've done something positive, even though I look like a dick. That's my soapbox.
Hey, no, I took something from it. So
yeah.
I appreciate it.
And there's no shame in any of it. I mean, again, coming
not
back
at
to
all.
what
I'm learning.
I fucked up is the coolest thing you can ever say, because it means you are open to learning something, you have recognized there is a lesson here, rather than being a victim of it.
You have to be if you want to grow, right? I mean, I'm not doing this to stay stationary. So
yeah, and you'll run into a lot of shitty things. For example, just recently at Rochester, at that show for the Fringe Festival, we show up. Josh had spent money on this nice poster that we sent to them for the hang up, because that's part of the deal. Like, hey, if they say you got a nice poster, we'll hang it. So he spent good money on this, and we show up to the gig, talking to the lady, and I'm like, hey, did you get the poster that I sent you? Because she wasn't great at answering emails. And she's like, oh, yeah, we put it up for a bit, then we took it down. What? What kind of fucking, like, just say you did not put it up, instead of just like fucking lying, because what type of marketing is that? It's like, you know what? A week before the show, we're going to take these flyers down.
Yeah,
I've had to work, because whenever I was going out of town for shows, was headlining, I would send them flyers and posters in advance, and I'd get down there, and sometimes the flyers won't even be out. I mean, the flyers is like, well, I guess you've seen, they're like half of 8.5 by 11, and I cut them and send them so they can put them on, on their counters or whatever, or their tables or whatever. And then I have a poster. If they have like one of those sidewalk signs, I have it sized for that. If they're going to put it on the wall, I have it sized for that. Whatever dimensions they want, I'll have it printed and sent down. And it really gets my goat to find out that they don't use them.
Wow, you know what I just learned? GD has a goat. When Ron said, for instance, there was a pause, and I was expecting like Dave Grohl to come on and say, I fucked your daughter as well as my own daughter's friend or whatever. Whenever Ron says, for instance, there should never be a pause, because I'm expecting the worst video I've ever met.
Actually, so was I with Ron. And I just thought, okay, he can't find it. He's looking, he can't find it.
Yeah. For instance.
For instance, the frustrating thing about Rochester is like, we did have people come out on Saturday night, but the money that he spent for this, we had a conversation afterwards, like, if we had just taken half of that money, sunk it into like advertising, we would have had a better turnout ourselves. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm scared. Are you scared? But you heard that pop, didn't you?
Yeah, it's probably Carl.
Oh, hey, I have another Roseanne video when she was with Tucker, but because of how freaky they look in it, I decided to overlay the video with a better video. But
all right, are we going to see that now?
Is it the same audio?
This is it's no, it's 1 minute. This is Roseanne and Tucker Carlson at some.
They eat babies. That is not bullshit. It's true.
So it's not just the dogs and the cats, not just the pets.
It's not just the dogs and the cats. They're full-on vampires. And everybody still thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. They're full-on vampires. They love the taste of human flesh and they drink human blood. They do tell by the time we go in to vote for Trump that he will open up everybody's eyes and they will stop pretending to be asleep. You know what they say, you can't wake people up that are pretending to be asleep, but I pray to God, please wake up even those who are pretending to be asleep with the irrefutable truth of what the worst people on this planet are really up to. They are really up to that. They're doing it. There are so many victims. There are so many victims. There's
God, when she talks about the worst people in the world, she's
Horrible.
referring to Carl Mann, who is here now. Good morning.
I thought that bitch was white.
How come you are not covered in whatever that entity was covered?
I would like to be. I'm extremely hungover today, and that's why you're not seeing any of my face or head because it's all swollen.
Well,
Yeah, I would
your
like to be
head
covered
gets
in
swollen when you're hungover.
My head changes shape when I drink a lot. It's weird. Or maybe it's just my perception, but it feels lumpier.
Yeah, it's the perception. It's looking in the mirror, and what you see feels like it changed shape. But I've said to people around you,
when you blow chunks on the mirror, anything you see in the mirror is going to look lumpy.
This is true. Phenomenal gig last night. It was good fun.
well, now I wanted to ask you about that because you posted something on Twitter, to X, whatever you want to call it, image of the blank stage with the glittery curtain, and you said I don't know, the glamour or whatever, but the end of it was
glamour
depression. Yeah, depression. It was. Do you get? I mean, seriously depressed before going on stage?
No, just generally, just life. It's just a permanent thing. Listen, you look around in the comedy community, everyone's fucking mental in some way, and it's just we instead of a shiny curtain. I think I talked about that and Diddy party, but it was a fun gig. I've been in Manchester for a couple of years, but I've not really tried to get into this scene as much as I should have done, and now I am making the journey. I've been given the secret list of nights. And
so when the question is, when you get off stage and it was a good gig and you enjoyed it, is that depression subsided now and now you're feeling good about it?
Well, I wouldn't say depression. I'd say more anxiety. I don't feel good before I go on, and then I feel good when I'm on, and then after, very quickly feels good when you come off if it's been good, which it was, and lots of other good acts. And I met some good people last night as well.
Yeah. My psychosis is this: when the call comes in for the gig, I'm excited to put it in the book. I put it in the book. I start to promote it, and I'm feeling good about it. The day of the gig, I start to dread it. I don't want to go.
Wednesday, I left the house, and it was fucking raining, and it was a miserable day. And I was like, I probably won't even make the venue in time. Shall I just go home? I had all that shit in my head for no reason, but I was like, no, go. But
I'm glad I'm not alone in this. Thank you, Carl. You're making me feel better about my own.
I got yesterday's gig off of the Wednesday's gig, so I'm glad I got that. And I actually spoke to other humans well and interacted and asked about other nights. I'm not very good at this.
That's a major triumph in itself.
I sit in the corner and I don't talk to anyone, and then I had a conversation with other humans, and which is difficult for me. But it's weird, and it's not all the time. But I go in these little cycles. But I think I'm coming out of the bad cycle, so I'll be a bit busier.
It's so hard to kind of get a grip on, like why I do this, and then why I get excited and really happy and looking forward to it until the moment it has to be done.
Yeah, it feels so good doing it, and I keep a little spreadsheet of things that I've done as well. So I added another one to that. So that satisfies my autism in another way.
Right.
But then I'll be doing a hell of a lot more stuff locally now, which is good. And then building up to a bigger show throughout next year.
Right. Related to the Roseanne Barr insanity that we just heard, I just want to Dave Landau, who is a good guy, who Ian hates, which is a really something I love having him on the show because I know Ian's going to trash him from the chat room and call him a midget and whatever he does. He doesn't like him, but I like Dave, and I've always liked him. He took a picture. He was at that thing with Tucker, and he took a picture with him and Roseanne, and I commented on it and saying, I do a lot of work in the psych wards too. I'm glad to see that you are, because even insane people need the arts. And Dave got mad at me. I don't think Dave will ever come on the show again. I think he has blocked me and excommunicated to me, which is unfortunate because I would again, I love to have him on because he tweaks Ian a little bit. So,
and you've upset him before you even got the chance.
Yeah, and you know what? Why would you get upset by? I'm just calling Roseanne crazy. I don't think anybody. She says in that clip, "I'm tired of people calling me crazy." I think if you're tired of people calling you crazy, you could stop talking about vampires eating the blood.
Well, maybe if she's crazy, she's just crazy, right?
Right.
She's going to be talking about vampires, and
so then why get mad at somebody who points out that she's fucking crazy? If you're not, especially if you're not her.
You know, I know people see me as black. I don't want to keep being reminded that I'm black. Okay, just talk to me as a human being.
That's you.
That's what she's saying.
But that's not somebody who
she's
took a
saying.
picture with you and say, "I'm glad you have black friends. I have black friends too." That's basically.
But she's saying, "Look, I know I'm crazy. Just don't call me crazy. I know I'm crazy. I know I'm black. You don't have to call me black." That's
right. That's what she's saying. But Dave got mad at me for pointing out that she's crazy. Not she. She doesn't even know.
Is he friends with her? Or
I think that this was no. I don't think it was friends with her. I think this was look who I'm with, big superstar, famous Roseanne. It was his moment of look. I know very famous people. You know, that's what I
for
think.
the black population.
Yeah, for the crazy population.
I have to do a hard out. It's good to see you, Carl. Guys,
take care, man.
Hard out is better than a hard on. Get out.
Depends on where it is.
Right. Get out. All right. Well, it's a shame to see GD go. Anybody want to say anything bad about GD now that he's not here and can't hear what we're going to say about him?
He can hear us all. He's right there. He waits. He does this 10-second wait thing.
Yeah, I saw. Anyway,
I'm not buying that he's black. I think he's blacking up for this. He's like white, Julian.
Yeah. He's all in blackface, which is
I think he's just. I just think he's your teacher. I think he's Italian. He's just really tan, and
well, I am definitely. I want a black guy to play a Brooklyn Guido. And I want to tape. I think this would go viral if I could follow around like a black guy putting on a really Guido Brooklyn accent, going into delis and hey, son, hey. I think that would go viral.
Great. I wanted to. My friend's married to a real Italian, and she's speaking like this. But I wanted to turn up at their house dressed as an Italian American with the chains and the tracksuits. And your mother still made a tomato sauce. But I still want to do it one day, but she might get upset. She might not. But
yeah. But if I may, and I'll get off the Roseanne thing, but this woman is definitely disturbed. She needs to be institutionalized, don't you think? Is it just me? Do you think I'm wrong?
Yeah, and the fact that people still keep giving her a platform like that,
right? Fame is a very strange thing because she's had a hit television show, and
she's all money, isn't it? They give her a platform, and people make money off her. So agents and promoters and whoever else. So
yeah, you're not wrong, Carl.
If she's valuable financially, she'll get platformed.
I think
unless you're Kanye and you tell the truth about Hollywood, then they take your bank accounts.
The thing is, people in the audience were applauding because they're all there for a political agenda. Let's face it, and we don't have to get into the politics of it and the fact that this is a fucking cult. But they're all there for a political agenda, and they are cheering on when she's talking about exposing vampires and people eating the flesh of children.
There's a lot of people who are into the vampire thing or the lizard thing. Here, it's the lizards, right? David,
Twilight broke a whole generation, is what it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, COVID sent people a little extra crazy as well, but isn't it better that we know who they are? I like to joke
Yeah, it
about
is.
it.
I just
We
love
don't.
your
The royal
accent so
family
much. Ugh.
Yeah, I like to
Yeah.
joke about the royal family being lizard pedophiles, and they very well may be, but I do realize that it's not real. They might be pedos, but they're not lizards necessarily.
What the hell is Ian saying? Where's
The royal family, they're all lizard
is he,
people. They eat
is he
babies.
making fun of Carl's accent here? Where's my coffee? I'm walking
No,
here.
that's a Brooklyn accent,
no, that's
is
a
what
Brooklyn.
Ian typed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, where's my coffee here? I'm walking here. Yeah.
All right. I don't read Brooklyn. I speak Brooklyn, but I don't read
I read it and I knew exactly what it was immediately.
No,
He did
that's
really
because-
good on that.
That's because you're an Indiana Klansman. That's why.
Whoa.
Christ, did a cow shit in here?
Once removed, sir.
Has there been a Klansman in a wheelchair? That would be quite a good aesthetic, I think.
There has to have been.
It has to have been. Someone's got fat. They're on a CPAP machine in his chair, right? At some point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the guys you see at Walmart rolling around in the power chairs with the broken wheel. Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been an interesting morning on this show because we had an alcoholic, drug addict, recovered alcoholic and drug addict talking about spirituality. Then we had a poetry author talking about spirituality.
Now part-time alcoholic, hungover.
Yeah, no, and now you would have been good in the first segment with Cody Peterson talking about his experience in hitting rock. You've never hit rock.
Feel like this anymore.
Have you ever hit rock bottom?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
With life, with everything, drinking. Yeah, but I take weeks off at a time drinking now. I don't like Jamie will drink every day. I take weeks and weeks and weeks with nothing, and then I'll have a couple of little slips here and there. And then I'll get back on it, and I'm going to get back on it after today, like clean rest of the month.
What does he say? Meet me at the Landau. He'll be the guy with his pants down. What does that mean? I'm just so confused.
It's probably
Ian's high.
Ian operates on a different level, and a lot. He obviously lives in a world of quotes. He's probably quoting a bit of Red Bar.
He rejects your reality and substitutes his own.
Yes.
Yeah, well, this morning has been full of things that I am going to be confused about and chasing my tail around all weekend. Trying to figure out.
You don't have to get the answers. Your LED sign or your neon looks better these days. Did you do something to the camera? Because you couldn't see it when you first did it, right?
I did nothing.
It's just picking it up.
Yeah, maybe I moved it. I don't know. Whatever. Anybody want to plug anything for this weekend before we cut out of this train wreck of a show?
I'll be at
Denver. You'll be in Denver. Wait, where in Denver? Oh,
no, I'll be at Crooked Lake Bar and Grill this Saturday.
That's much different than Denver.
Yeah, it is. I know. It's fucking Indiana still. Love it.
Tonight is Friday.
Fratelli's.
Yep, at Fratelli's in New Cumberland. I got some RSVPs already, so it's looking like it's going to be a solid night. So come on out to that. There's no cover for that.
The Deansgate
tomorrow night at the campground. Don't forget the campground.
The Deansgate on Deansgate Manchester. If anyone from the UK is watching, which they're not, apart from me, Sunday and Comedy Vault Monday.
Believe it or not, according to the radio app, there are 7 people in the UK listening right now. Now they might not be in England; they could be anywhere, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, any other places. But 7 people in the UK are listening.
And we'll have a new show, myself and Shannon again, and I'll probably get her to wear a fake pair of tits to promote it again. She's a good sport.
Hell yeah!
And it will be coming to many festivals and venues next year, most likely. But I have the name. I will not.
I can listen to him talk all day.
It's a good name.
Well, there's 7 people listening. That means 2.7.
Yeah, can you please get people to eventually come and see me when I need to get tickets? Next year.
No heckling, no being part of the show. You're invited there to drink, get drunk, spend your money on food and booze, and leave peacefully and laugh at the joke.
Last year at Brighton Fringe, I was fighting with the promoter and emailing someone else. They said I they'd cut the time in half for the show, and I said, you can't do that. It's 15 minutes until the show. What are you doing? This is the venue. So then I'm emailing someone at 11 p.m. and luckily they were good and they got straight on it and they said, basically tell the venue to go fuck themselves. We've agreed to have it for an hour. So yeah, that was stressful before a show.
Flying over to Wolverhampton for Carl's next gig. Wolverhampton
is a little south of Manchester. Wolves.
Wow.
It's a shithole.
That's a scary name. Now, here on Long Island, as you might be aware, we have the Hamptons, and there are people. There were traditionally like Southampton, East Hampton, and West.
I guess
West
the Hamptons came from our neck because we've got Southampton, obviously, where the Titanic left. It's actually on the south, and it's a
named after, obviously named after the places in Britain, but. Now we have, because there are little towns that surround it, they're all trying to like make up these fake Hampton names, and that's what Wolverhampton
they're trying to get a bit of the glitz of the Hamptons. Hey, we're in Hampton East Cove.
Right. Northampton is actually Riverhead, and Riverhead is a really trailer park existence of people live in trailers. Nothing wrong with that if that's the station in life that you found yourself, but you're not a Hamptonite. Hamptonites live in mansions. Northampton full of trailers is not a Hampton. And we have a lot. Everybody's coming up with Wolverhampton.
What if it's a double wide?
Oh yeah, they're making that money.
Yeah.
The hand jobs are going well. The hand jobs around by the bins are going well. They do it in London as well. So like Kensington and Chelsea being like high-end places. People who live in the next borough will be like, yeah, we live in Chelsea. It's just lying.
Hey, sometimes you gotta work a double,
Yeah. Trying to make yourself feel better about the place you live in.
And the Fratellis, where you're going to be run, is that the Fratellis were the family from the Goonies, I believe. They were the gangsters from the Goonies, right?
Yeah. Except these guys are from New Jersey. The owners are originally from New Jersey, so yeah.
Same thing. Well, that would be mob country, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jersey has as many mobsters, gangsters, whatever you want to call them, as Brooklyn, Bronx.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sopranos, right? It was based in some kind of reality.
Yeah. So that's just poor excuse for a show. I'm really sorry about it. Next week, we will be. I haven't solidified the time. Sean Smith from Australia will be rescheduling. We'll have her on next week.
Yeah,
Brendan Walsh
about this. I think she was she just got fucked up with the time zone. I think she thought it was Australian time. Yeah,
time zones always fuck things up.
Australia's a tough one. It's like fucking 8 hours ahead of here, so it always messes with me.
Yeah, I think like it's 18 hours. I think it's more than. I think it's 13 hours
ahead of you, maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, all of that, and Brendan Walsh will be with us next week. Now, Carl, I don't know. You caught the first guest we had on today. For a second, he could have passed for Brendan Walsh pulling a prank.
No, I missed. I only saw some of the second guest. I missed the first.
He had Brendan Walsh. He had a little bit of his look with the beard on and glasses, but he definitely had Brendan's voice. And I'm like, people who know that I'm planning to have Brendan on soon might have thought, well,
Brendan's fucking great. I love him, man. I don't get into his podcast enough as I should. There's just so much to do. But he's phenomenal, and it always goes back to that first cancer thing we did for Andres, where he did his TripAdvisor or Yelp reviews or something, right?
Yeah, beautiful stuff.
Phenomenal.
Last time I had him on, he had a book of those, and we was going through some of them. Really,
he did the show with Stanhope last year where he was doing the prank call stuff live on stage as well, with all the sound effects, and it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's a sharp
so that's what to look forward to for next week. Other than that, I don't know what to tell you about next week. Anyway, thanks for being here, guys. Poor Lumpy there won't be in Indiana instead of Denver, but I don't know. I'm sorry.
Learning experience.
And I did not make him cry, which is a good thing.
Dude, I am coachable. I look. I'm learning all of this.
Can you at least fake it for me? Call me a hater. Cry and call me a hater once.
You're such a hater. Why do you have to be so mean? I'm on here trying to do good things for the show.
You know what?
He's such a dick over there.
You know what, Steven? It's about time that you stand up in your life.
Right.
Get your ass in a car this weekend and drive yourself to Austin. That way you can appear on Kill Tony on Monday because it's a guarantee. God damn it! So
Right.
Stop being so lazy.
Right.
You know, it's funny you brought that up. My wife is like, "Hey, I made a friend in Texas. She wants us to come out so you can go to Kill Tony." I was like,
No, she didn't mean get on the show. She wanted you to kill Tony.
I mean, I that's more likely to happen than getting on the show. So probably.
They had someone who murdered someone the next week on the show when they were in LA, right? They had someone on the show, and the next week he threw his girlfriend off the balcony or something.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
and it wasn't me this time, which is really.
Yep.
This time, I say, I do have some experience with throwing people off a balcony. Not throwing, just not.
You never got
holding
rid
them.
of Govs, and you're an hour